Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible and visible? Godavari, good evening, Syed, Mishak. Good evening, all of you. Am I audible and visible? Yeah, good evening. Anushka, Godavari, Sneha, Deepshika, Ankush, Patarbinda, Ragini, Hemalata, Smriti. Yeah, good evening, all of you. Am I audible and visible? Sankarshana, audible and visible together. Okay. Yuksen, Shankarshana, Ankush. Right. So let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Sakshi, Brajneet. So good evening once again. Welcome to Byju's. Today I'll be starting with ancient India. I'll be giving you an overview of ancient Indian history. And then once I finish ancient India, we'll go on to other segments, medieval India and art and culture. So if I might ask you, when did you last study history apart from UPSC? Okay, Deepshika says she hasn't studied ancient Indian history after class 6. So it doesn't matter, Deepshika. Most of the students would have studied history in class 10. Yeah, Ankush also says the same thing. Godavari says 10th standard. Great. Pritham up to 10th standard. Yeah, most of the students would have studied history last in the 10th standard. Okay, Sakshi has a history as a subject in college, right? Fine, great. Okay, Pihu is studying humanities in class 12. Okay, great. Um, yeah, Sankarshana, that will be notified to you. I myself don't know. What is happening. So it will be shortly notified to you. Yeah, Udayarani, good evening. Deemare. So last 2 years. Um, right. So let's talk about ancient Indian history. Syed, I think modern India has already been covered for you as far as I know, my knowledge goes. I was told modern India has been covered. Is it true? Evening batch? Udayarani says yes. Yeah, Roshan, yes. Good evening, Lakshmi. Yeah, great. So, so it has been covered. Modern India has been covered. Um, yeah. So I have been given the responsibility of handling ancient, medieval, and art and culture for the evening batch. So, so let's begin. Before I begin, I give a generally an overview of history. Yeah, Sridevi, namaskar. So before I begin, what is history? Hello, can we start with that such a basic information? What is history? Hello, what is history? What is history? Study of human past, the record of past. Okay, so that means okay, Sankarshana. Okay, Sankarshana is right. Record of past actions, archives, study of past events. Sankarshana says all those happenings of past which have written records. Okay, Sankarshana is right. Now look here. So history is a study of the past in colloquial terms, in common language terms. But then all those happenings of the past which have been recorded and understood is history. So let us define history here. All those happenings of the past. So what is history? all those happenings of the past which have been written down. So we have written records. So all those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood. So we have written records, and those written records are understood by us. We are able to read and understand. Okay, so all those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history, right? Now, let us take an example. We have the Ashokan edicts. We have we have the edicts of Ashoka. Now, when I come to Mauryan Empire, we'll talk about it. What are edicts? Edicts are royal messages. Understand this? Edicts are royal messages. Ashoka got his royal messages or edicts inscribed or written on the surface of rocks, pillars, and caves. They're called rock edicts, pillar edicts, and cave edicts. And generally, Ashoka uses Brahmi script and Prakrit language. He uses three languages and four scripts. We'll not go into the details. When we come to Mauryan chapter, I'll talk about it in detail. But as of now, just understand this much, that in most parts of India, he uses one script and one language. He uses the Brahmi script. Ashoka uses the Brahmi script and Prakrit language. And the Prakrit language. And the Brahmi script was deciphered by James Prinsep. James Prinsep, an officer of East India Company, deciphered the Brahmi script sometime in 1837 or so. So in the early part of the 19th century, he deciphered the Ashokan Brahmi script. He was able to read the script. So that is history. All those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history. So once the Brahmi script was decoded or written down, we are able to understand what Ashoka was trying to convey to his people and sometimes to his officers. Sridevi, current events, affairs, history related, art and culture related will be covered in the webinar. So last month we had a webinar, had covered relevant topics. This month again on the 18th, we have a webinar on art and culture. So I will be handling, we'll be discussing some topics relevant to the last 1 month up to 17th or 16th of this month, right? From the last webinar till the present webinar. Script is what you write, Shailaja. Script is the written records. Language is what we speak, and script is the one which is written down. Got it, Shailaja? Thank you, Shankarshana. It will be notified to you. Don't worry. Don't lose your patience. Keep preparing, and the pending topics of art and culture will be covered very soon, right? So we'll come back here. So here, what is history? All those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history. And I gave you an example, Ashokan edicts. Generally, they are in the Brahmi script and the Prakrit language. And in 1837, James Prinsep, an officer of the East India Company, deciphered or decoded the Ashokan Brahmi. He was able to read it. And once he was able to read it, we are able to understand what Ashoka was trying to convey. That is called history, right? Then what is prehistory? Use your common sense. What is prehistory? So so all those happenings of the past which I have written down and understood is history. What is prehistory then? What is prehistory? If history is all the uh, is about written records, what is prehistory? Non-recorded. Very good. So we do not have any written records, right? So we do not have any written records. That is prehistory. So we rely on archaeology. We rely on archaeology for the reconstruction of this period of history. We rely entirely on archaeology for the reconstruction of the period of this period of history as such. So man used to live in caves. Early man, the Stone Age man used to live in caves. He has painted on the walls of some caves. We find paintings, but that did not make him illiterate. So we rely entirely on archaeology to reconstruct that period of history. Therefore, it is called prehistory. Man had no knowledge of writing, so we rely on archaeology to reconstruct that period of history. That's called prehistory. Very good. Archaeology is that part of history where you studied about the a past, that is, when there are no written records. So we piece together on the basis of excavations, artifacts, whatever things early man used. So from all those things, a history of the early man is recreated, right? A lot of conjecture, intelligent guesswork is used. Apart from the collection of artifacts, we come to know what type of life early man could have lived or used, right? That is archaeology, right? Um, did you get me that? Now we'll come back here. Um, so we have discussed history, we have discussed prehistory. Then what is proto-history, students? What is proto-history? Proto-history. What is proto-history? Literary records are there, but we're not able to decipher it. Very good. So we have written records. We have written records, but we're not able to read them, understand them. For example, so proto-history is we have written records, but we're not able to understand or read them. So all those happenings of the past for which we have written records, but we are not able to read or understand them. For example, we have the Harappan script. We have the Harappan script. The Harappans knew how to read and write. So they had a script. But whatever the Harappans wrote, we are not able to read it. We are not able to understand it. We are not able to read it because it is yet to be deciphered. That comes under the category of proto-history, right? Yeah, Kavya, did you get me that? So what is history? All those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history. I repeat, history is all those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood. So we have written records of the past events and we are able to read and understand them. Example is Ashokan edicts. Then prehistory, we do not have any written records. And therefore, we rely on archaeology to reconstruct that period of history. Proto-history is what? Proto-history is we have written records, but we're not able to read it. We're not able to read and understand them. That is called proto-history. So we start with basics of history. People have a lot studied history in school days, 6th standard, 10th standard. So go back to your NCERT books, right? It all depends how much time you have. Are you writing the exam, most of you, this year? In a few, I think on May, when is the exam? May 26th? Are you writing the exam, most of you? Or is it you're preparing for the next year? June 16th. Okay, it has been postponed. Yeah, it has been postponed. Okay, June 16th. So some people are writing in the next year, 2025. So you have extra time. So I'll give you a suggested. I'll give you a book list. I'll give you a book list, suggested readings later. Right. So a lot of time is there for people who are preparing for next year or next to next year. But there are also people who are preparing for this year. So accordingly, we will discuss and we'll have a plan later. I'll give you a plan. Yeah, we'll come back here. So history, prehistory, proto-history. Then what is numismatics? Numismatics. Numismatics. Study of coins. Very good. Study of coins. The study of coins is called numismatics. Study of coins. Then what is epigraphy? Epigraphy. Epigraphy. Garima, not maps. Epigraphy. Study of inscriptions. Very good. Study of inscriptions. Epigraphy is study of inscriptions. Study of inscriptions. Then what is paleography? What is paleography? What is paleography? Inscription is, you have records either written on stone or copper plates. That's called inscription. So inscription is that. So a king or somebody wants to convey some message, he gets it written down on a surface. Either it could be a stone or it could be a copper plate, like that. That is called inscription, right? So paleography, what is paleography? Study of old writing used in inscriptions. Study of old writing used in inscriptions. Paleography is study of old writing. Study of old writing used in inscriptions. So these are some of the fundamentals of history, prehistory, proto-history, epigraphy, numismatics, paleography, etc. So such information you'll get in your NCERT book, 6th standard onwards. So go back to your NCERT, right? 6th standard onwards, 6th to 12th. You read your history books. People who are preparing for next year, next to next year. So you have a lot of time to get your fundamentals, basics strong. So, Prism, why do institutes all over India recommend studying NCERT books? Any idea? Hello? Yeah, study of old writing used in inscriptions. That's called paleography. Any idea? Prehistory is Kavya. We do not have any written records. That period of history when man had no knowledge of writing, right? That is called prehistory. So here we rely on archaeology to reconstruct that period of history. That's called prehistory. Basics are cleared. Fundamentals have basic knowledge in NCERT. NCERT is the base of UPSC. Okay, fine. Why? See. Many of the students are from state board. Many of the students are of state board. Many students are from ICSE, CBSE board. So as you can understand, the level of difficulty of the textbook is different. In a state board, it is presumed that the level of difficulty is lesser compared to NCERT and ICSE syllabus, or CBSE and ICSE syllabus. So to make up that, institutes all over India tell you to read NCERT books. If you've already done your NCERT, ICSE syllabus or CBSE syllabus, you just revise those books. Yeah, what you have studied in your school days, you please revise them. And people who have not studied ICSE and CBSE syllabus, you go through it fresh in a few months, 1 or 2 months. You take out some time and thoroughly read those books. So whatever you have lost in your school days, you make it up in a few months' time. So read all the basic books, history, economy, constitution, geography, etc. So you're on par with the other students who have conventionally studied CBSE and ICSE syllabus, right? So that's the reason. So that your fundamentals are strong, your basics are strong. You cannot build a superstructure on a weak foundation, isn't it? So you need to have a strong foundation. So it is presumed that people from state board have a weak foundation. So you get your basics right. We are not saying that you are not smart or intelligent. We're not saying that. What we're trying to say is you clear your basics. You become strong with the basics so that then you can build a very firm and strong foundation. Right. That's the reason why institutes recommend reading NCERT or CBSE, ICSE books. You please revise them, people who have already done those syllabus. Now we'll come back here. So you have these topics in ancient Indian history, Stone Age, right? So I'll give you an overview, a bird's eye view of ancient Indian history. So today I'll be spending a lot of time on this. Generally, I spend a lot of time on this overview. So once you listen to the overview, the flow of history, how history flows from ancient to from the Stone Age to the post-Gupta period, then you'll get that connection. You'll get the flow, you'll get the connection, and then you can understand when you read textbooks, when you listen to class, you know what is coming next because you already listened to the overview, right? So that is my way of presenting the subject. So please give me your cooperation and support. Every teacher has his own way of teaching the subject, presenting the subject. So it varies from teacher to teacher, and I have my own unique method. Generally, students have appreciated it and they have liked it. So let us see how you feel at the end of this session, right? So we'll come back here, Stone Age. So first of all, the first chapter we study would be Stone Age. So let us make it interactive. Yeah, let us make it interactive. Now, what is Stone Age? So whoever can answer, please answer. So that always have a pen and a paper with you. Have a pen and a paper with you. Keep jotting down so that you're not just physically present, you're also mentally present in the class. So I'm not able to see you, but then we'll try to make it interactive. So keep jotting down and then go back and revise in your free time. So what is Stone Age? Why is it called Stone Age? Use of stones was primary. Stone is used. Uh, okay, thank you, Garima. Period where man used stones for tools. Very good, Godavari. Okay, Ankush. Okay, so here it is called Stone Age because, as most of you have answered correctly here, all the tools and implements. Understand this? All the tools and implements or instruments, all the tools, implements, or instruments used by early man used by early man were made of stone. They were made of stone. Hence, it is called Stone Age. Okay, all the tools and implements or instruments used by early man were made of stone, hence called Stone Age. Right? Now, the Stone Age is divided into three parts, three phases. Stone Age is divided into three phases. So, what are the three phases? Paleolithic, Paleolithic, Paleolithic Age. Number two, Mesolithic Age. Smriti says Catholic. Smriti, by mistake, you have typed Catholic. Okay, so Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and number three, Neolithic. Right? And then we have one more, Chalcolithic. Yeah. Now we'll come back here. So we have Paleolithic Age, Mesolithic Age, Neolithic Age. So Stone Age is divided into basically three phases: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and we have one more, Chalcolithic. Now, what is Paleolithic Age? Understand this. I'm just a bird's eye view of the topic of ancient India. So Paleo means old. Paleo means old. Lithic means stone. So this is called Old Stone Age. Then Meso is what? Meso is middle. Meso means middle. And lithic is stone. So this is called Middle Stone Age. Neo is new. And lithic is stone. So this is called New Stone Age. So Old Stone Age, Middle Stone Age, New Stone Age. Right? Now, let me ask you a question. On what basis have historians divided the Stone Age into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic? On what basis have historians divided the Stone Age into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic? Anybody? Types of tools, sharpness of tools, advancement of stone use structure. Okay. Hemalata, development of tools used by people. Krishika, okay. Quality of stone, not quality of stone. Probably Sridevi meant, Shailaja meant, the gradual improvement in tool making technology. Understand this? On the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology. So on that basis, the Stone Age has been divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. On the basis of what? Gradual improvement or gradual advancement in stone gradual improvement in technology. Okay. On the basis of gradual improvement in technology. So, for example, initially, understand this, initially the stones were very crude. See this? Imagine the stone was like this, a very, very crude, blunt. So this is not a very effective weapon. So, but in course of time, through observation, experimentation, a man began to make much more effective tools. So let us say this is a blunt. This is number one. So he has used this type of stone for many hundreds and thousands of years, and he began to sharpen them. So let us say he began to make it like this. So he gave it a point. Okay. So this is a much more effective weapon when compared to a blunt stone, right? So it took him many millennia, thousands of years to make improvement in this type of tool building technology. So on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, um, and on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, Stone Age is divided to Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Tool making technology. Okay, are you clear? Are you clear? Advancement in tool making. Right. So what we need to study, understand this, what you need to study in this chapter is how was man's life in the Paleolithic age? What is important from the exam point of view? Right? What is important from the exam point of view? How was man's life in the Paleolithic age? So we'll discuss that. And then the type of tools he used. So historians, archaeologists have found tools. They have given some names to these tools, like for example, hand axes, cleavers, choppers, blades, burins, etc. So archaeologists have given names to these tools. So where are the Paleolithic tools found? So what are the different types of tools used by Paleolithic man, and what are the sites or places where these have been found? So sites or places in India where they have been found. And how was Paleolithic man's life like? Right? This is what is important from the exam point of view. Then we come to the second stage, that is Mesolithic age. So how was the Mesolithic age different from the Paleolithic age? How was man's life in the Mesolithic age, and how was it different from the Paleolithic age? What are the type of tools used by the Mesolithic man, and what are the places or sites where such tools have been found? What are the type of tools used by Mesolithic man, and what are the places or sites where such tools have been found in India? Okay. Yeah, Gunjan will come to that. See, Gunjan is asking about ice age. So during the Paleolithic age, your major parts of the earth was covered with ice. We were in the Pleistocene epoch. That's called ice age. Okay. So during the Paleolithic age, we were in the Pleistocene epoch. Pleistocene means ice age. So the Paleolithic man lived during the ice age. So we'll talk about it. Don't worry, Gunjan. Just hold on. This is only an overview. I'm not going to go into too many details. It is just to make you understand, kindle the interest in your mind about history. Generally, history is considered to be boring by students in school days, full of facts. So therefore, not very exciting to read. But then it is an interesting subject. It all depends, upon the student and also upon the teacher. So I'm trying to kindle some interest in the subject in your minds. So we'll move on here. So here, Mesolithic age. How was man's life in the Mesolithic age? How was it different when compared to the Paleolithic age? What are the type of tools used by Mesolithic man, and what are the sites or places where they have been found? So we'll study about that. Then we come to the Neolithic age. So what is Neolithic age, right? And Neolithic age is also called sometimes Neolithic revolution. It is also called Neolithic revolution. Neolithic revolution. So what did man totally do different in the Neolithic age? What did man totally do different in the Neolithic age? That the Neolithic age is called Neolithic revolution, right? So similarly, what type of tools have been used by the Neolithic man? What are the type of tools used? And where are the tools? Where are such tools found? Or the different Neolithic sites found in India, right? So Paleolithic tools and sites, Mesolithic tools and sites, Neolithic tools and sites. And how was man's life in each of these three stages? Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Clear? Then we come to another age, Chalcolithic age. Chalcolithic, stone copper age. Chalcolithic is stone copper age. So along with stone, copper was the first metal to be used by man. That's why it is called Chalcolithic age, stone copper age. Chalcolithic age or stone copper age, right? So how was man's life in the Chalcolithic age? How was it different from the previous ages? And what are the type of tools used by Chalcolithic man? And where are these tools found? Sites. Did you get me? So tools used by Chalcolithic man and sites or places where such tools have been found. This is your first chapter, Stone Age. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? समझ में आ रहा है ना, all of you? You're able to understand. This is your first chapter. Very easy. Okay. So this is a Stone Age. We'll discuss that. When we come to the topic, we'll discuss. Hopefully, I should finish Stone Age today. Once I discuss all these topics. Then we come to the second chapter. On your screen, you can see the second chapter. That is Indus civilization. Indus civilization or Harappan civilization. So we go to the next chapter, Harappan civilization. Now, what do you study in this chapter? The Indus civilization. Yeah, Indus civilization. Okay, yeah, that is there, Garima. Okay, what do you know about the Harappan civilization or Indus civilization? गरिमा says ये सर ये सारे तो हमारे बीए के फर्स्ट सेम के सिलेबस है. Yeah, Garima, but we go much beyond that. The level of difficulty, this is common. History is there in from your school days, but then the level of difficulty is different, right? So what is the reference point for all of you? The previous year question papers. So go through the syllabus of UPSC, then the previous year question papers, and then you'll be able to understand the level of difficulty of questions asked by the UPSC. Okay, so syllabus is there. Indus civilization is there in your school days, then in your BA, even in your MA, it is there. But how deep do you go in that chapter? And what is the reference point? The previous year UPSC question papers. Okay, people who live near Indus River, known as Indus civilization. Okay, great. So why I'm a first year BSc student? What is the confusion, Shailaja? It is just a overview I'm discussing. So there should not be any confusion, Shailaja. So Bronze Age, Pritham says Bronze Age. First developed human advanced urban civilization, says Hemalata. Very good. Nancy also says the same thing. One of the world's earliest and most advanced civilization due to effect of Indus River, says Kavya. Found in India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So all of you know quite a lot about this topic. Okay, so listen up now. So Indus civilization. Now, what do we study in this chapter? So we'll first of all discuss about culture. What is culture? So I'll be discussing about what is culture, right? What is culture? What are the constants of culture? Then what is civilization? What is civilization? What is urban revolution? What is urban revolution? So I'll be discussing all these things. Then, of course, we'll be going to other aspects, the characteristic features of the Harappan civilization. As you know, all know, the Indus civilization ranks amongst the four contemporary civilizations of the world, which is the oldest civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization in Iraq. You know, the Mesopotamian civilization existed in Iraq, Mesopotamia, in present-day Iraq, on the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, isn't it? This is the oldest civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization, followed by the Egyptian civilization. The second oldest is the Egyptian civilization on the banks of the Nile in Africa. So on the banks of the Nile in Africa. Then the third oldest is the Indus civilization. The third oldest is the Indus on the banks of the river Indus and Gaggar Hakra. So we have two rivers, River Indus and Ghaggar Hakra. And number four is, of course, the Chinese civilization. The fourth is, of course, the Chinese civilization. So it ranks amongst the four contemporary civilizations of the world, the Indus civilization. But then the Indus civilization is the largest amongst the three, amongst the four. Indus civilization is the third oldest. It is the third oldest. But when you compare all the four, this is the largest amongst the contemporary civilizations. So what do we study in this chapter? We'll be studying about the characteristic features of this civilization. What are the characteristic features? As you all know, the Harappans, Mesopotamia and Indus were contemporary. That's true. Yeah, we will discuss about it, Ankush. Gunjan, I'm coming to that. Just hold on, Gunjan. I'll discuss about it. So we have a number of features of this civilization. We'll be discussing about the town planning. Harappans used to live in well-planned cities and towns. So here, all these civilizations. What is civilization? People are living in cities. Civilization means inevitably people are living in cities. But in none of the other civilizations, Mesopotamian civilization or Egyptian civilization or Chinese civilization, people were living in cities. They were living in cities, but those cities were not planned properly. it was very haphazardly constructed. Like in a slum, there's no particular planning. It is haphazardly constructed. So people used to live in cities like that. But here in the Harappan civilization, you have well-planned cities and towns following a particular pattern, a grid system or a chessboard pattern. We'll discuss about it. So then everybody had a toilet, everybody had a well. In every house, you have a toilet and a well. So Harappans gave a lot of importance to health and hygiene, cleanliness. So we study about the underground drainage system, the underground drainage system of the Harappans, town planning. Then what was their society like? Social life of the Harappans. So social life. Then economy. Under economy, we'll be studying about agriculture. We'll be discussing about agriculture, trade and commerce. Um, then, of course, small scale industries, small scale industries. As regards social life or society, we'll be discussing about the races who lived here, whether there was one race living here or a mixture of races. Social society of the Harappans, economy, then religious practices of the Harappans. So, how was the religion like? What are the type of gods or goddesses they worshipped? The religious practices of the Harappans, society, economy, religion, script of the Harappans. So Harappans had a script, something about their script. We are not able to read the script, but we'll be talking about the script of the Harappans. Then, of course, we'll be talking about the burial practices. When somebody died, Harappans had three distinct methods of disposal of dead bodies. So they disposed of their dead bodies in a particular manner. So burial practices of the Harappans. Then what is a seal? Harappan seals. So what is the meaning of a seal? Okay. What was the purpose of these seals? Right. Then we'll be discussing about pottery, Harappan pottery. Then important cities pertaining to this civilization. For example, you have Harappa, the earliest city to be discovered was Harappa, right? What are the important artifacts found there in at Harappa? Then Mohenjo-daro. So we'll be discussing about Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. So important cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. Then, like for example, we have the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, the Great Granary at Mohenjo-daro. We have found the oldest bronze idol there, bronze image of a dancing girl at Mohenjo-daro. It's the world's oldest bronze image of a dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro, and it is made of bronze. So Harappans had developed alloy technology. They knew how to mix copper and tin and make bronze. And what was the technique used by the Harappans? That is called lost wax technique, sir perdu method, or lost wax technique. So I'll be discussing about those things. So Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal in Gujarat, where the Harappans had an artificial dockyard. And through the dockyard, they used to trade with various parts of the world, particularly Bahrain and Mesopotamia. So you have ships going to Mesopotamia or Iraq via Bahrain. And similarly, ships from Mesopotamia used to come to Lothal, to the Indus civilization. So there was trade and cultural contacts between the Harappans and the Mesopotamians. So we'll be discussing about that. So Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Chanhudaro, Kalibangan. So many important cities we'll be discussing. What was the town planning? And similarly, before that, we'll be discussing about the origin of this civilization. How did this civilization originate? So there are some theories regarding the origin of this civilization. Similarly, we have the decline of this civilization. We have some theories regarding the decline. How did this civilization decline? So many theories are there. One theory says that the Aryans came and destroyed this civilization. But then, even before the Aryans came, this civilization was already on its decline. So let me remind you one more thing. I will be discussing Indus civilization in depth. And UPSC has asked two questions in the mains from this chapter, okay, particularly about the town planning of the Harappans. The one question was asked how the present urbanization has been influenced by the town planning of the Harappans. So something like that they've asked. So we'll be discussing about it. So here I will not be covering the town Indus civilization chapter in your art and culture. When we do art and culture, we have a topic called art and architecture. And in art and architecture, we will be discussing about the town planning of the Harappans, okay, the economy of the culture of the Harappan society, economy, religion, okay, trade and commerce. All those things I'll be covering here only in ancient Indian section. I may not be covering this one in art and culture? Am I there with you, all of you? Can you raise your hands? So, so don't miss any class. I'll not be covering that in art and culture section. When I come to art and culture section, after ancient and medieval. Yeah, Shalu, the UPSC is asking some topics. They are asking questions even now from ancient and medieval. For example, last year we had a question about the society and religion of the Vedic period, and how is it similar to the present society and religion. Many of the practices of the Vedic Aryans, the Vedic society and religion is very many, even now we are practicing, we are following many of the practices in our society and religion. So what is the similarity they've asked last year mains? So you cannot say that UPSC cannot ask. They can ask you. Earlier they should not ask. They are nowadays asking, right? So therefore, be very alert. We'll come back here. Look at the study the previous year question papers. You'll get an idea. So we'll be discussing about this entire chapter: Indus civilization, right? Culture, civilization, urban revolution, town planning, underground drainage system, so on and so forth. And many of the practices of the Harappans, even now, many of the practices of the Harappans are followed by us. Many of the practices of the Harappans are even now followed by us. We'll talk about it when we come to this chapter. This is your second chapter. Did you get me? So first chapter is Stone Age. Second chapter is Indus civilization. Yes, Deepshika. Yeah. So be alert about current affairs, particularly what is coming in the news. Indian Express. Indian Express is a very beautiful paper. We have a UPSC section there. UPSC special explained. There's a column called explained there, or opinion is there. So when you click on them, you get so many topics, information on so many topics, including art and culture. So, so apart from Hindu, please read Indian Express, the new Indian Express, and your current affairs is automatically covered there very beautifully. Apart from whatever magazines Byju's provide, yeah. So, and of course, some magazines, competitive magazines, you please read them. That should be enough. So we'll come back here. So Stone Age, Indus civilization. Third chapter is Vedic period. So far so good, all of you. Hello, Stone Age, Indus civilization. Then we go to the third chapter, Vedic period. So let us understand this topic. Third topic, Vedic period. Okay. So yeah, be very selective, Deepshika. Deepshika is asking whether we have to follow both the newspapers. Be very selective in what you're going to read. From the UPSC point of view, you only read those things. You already know, I suppose, what to omit, what to eliminate, not read in the newspapers. Okay. So you be very selective. We'll come back here. So Stone Age, Indus civilization. Then we go to another chapter, Vedic period. The third chapter, Vedic period. Vedic period. 1500 to 600 BCE or BC. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, what is Vedic period? Why is it called Vedic period? Anybody? Why is it called Vedic period? Flourishing of Brahminical religion, Godavari says. BC is before Common Era. See, Shailaja, BC is what? What is BC and AD? BC is before Christ, right? Before Christ. Just hold on. Just hold on. BC is before Christ, and AD is what? AD is Anno Domini. Anno Domini. That is in the year of the Lord. Anno Domini in Latin means in the year of the Lord. In the year of the Lord. In the year of the Lord. What is the meaning of in the year of the Lord? In the year in which Lord Jesus Christ was born. In the year in which Lord Jesus Christ was born. So that is AD. Now, this has got a Christian connotation. Everybody in the world is not Christian, isn't it? So, therefore, since this has a Christian connotation, we use the word BC, before Common Era. Instead of BC, we use BCE, before Common Era. Before Common Era. Right? And AD, instead of AD, we use CE, Common Era. Instead of AD, we use CE, that is Common Era. Did you get me? Okay, so we'll come back here. Um, Now I'll use another page. So Vedic period. Why is it called Vedic period? Just hold on. Many of you have answered it already. I could not read it. Just hold on. So 1500 to 600 BC or BCE. Okay. Vedas were written in those period. Okay. Nancy, Vedic period, the rise of the Vedas and the different parts, the rise of popular rishis and philosophers. No. I am asking, why is it called Vedic period? Vedas were written in those period. Okay. Okay. Now look here. So most of you have answered this question rightly. I'm very proud of you, students. You have a lot of knowledge about history already. So I'm wondering whether I should teach you anything new. I wonder whether I'll be teaching you anything new. You already know quite a lot of things. Your fundamentals are very strong. So we'll come back here. Vedic period. So the main source of information for the study of this period are the Vedas. We we hardly have any archaeological information. Hardly have any archaeological sources for the study of this period. So we rely entirely on Vedic literature for the study of this period, hence called Vedic period. So we rely on Vedic literature. The Vedic we rely on Vedic literature for the study of this period, therefore called Vedic period. And hardly we have any archaeological sources. Very less archaeological sources. If you go back to the previous chapter, Indus civilization, we have a script. The Harappans had a script, but we are not able to read that script. So what do we rely on? We rely on archaeology. We rely on archaeology. We get some information about the Harappans from the Mesopotamians because there was trade between these two civilizations, and the Mesopotamian script has been deciphered, unlike the Harappan script. So we get some information about the Harappans from the Mesopotamians. But generally, we rely on intelligent guesswork, conjecture. We rely on archaeology to reconstruct the history of the Harappans. But what about Vedic literature? We hardly have any archaeological sources. So we rely entirely on Vedic literature, and therefore this period is called Vedic period. Okay, now the next question is, who are the authors of the Vedas? Who are the people who compose the Vedas? Who are the authors of the Vedas? Deepshika says sages, okay. Rishi, Yuksin, okay. Shalu says Aryans. Ankush, Sapna, Jagabandhu, Vaishnavi, Brajneet. Okay, I'll not. I may not be able to take all your names, but many of you have answered rightly. The authors of the Vedas are supposed to be the Aryans. So Aryans are the ones who compose the Vedas. So next question obviously arises: who are the Aryans? Who are the Aryans? People. Shalu says people near Ravi area. Okay, interesting. Brahmin. Megha says Brahmin. Godavari says migrated people. Okay, nice. Then Central Asia people, Sakshi. Then Preetham says high birth. Gunjan says Iranis. Sapna says came from Ukraine. Okay, interesting. Okay. So you know quite a lot of it. Come back here. So who are the Aryans? We are not very sure who these Aryans were. Among historians, there was no unanimity initially. Many of the historians said that they came from outside India. So some historians say that they were foreigners. Aryans were foreigners. And some said that they were indigenous to this country. Some said they were indigenous to this country. Now, so we'll be discussing about the various theories regarding the original homeland of the Aryans. Some said that they came from Austro-Hungary region, Austria and Hungary region. Some said that they came from Tibet. Somebody said that they came from Central Asia. Somebody said that they came from Germany. Okay, and so on and so forth. And then we have another group of historians who said that they were locals. They were indigenous to this country. They never came from outside India. They were indigenous to this country. So they were locals. Brahma Rishi Desha, Sapta Sindhu region, Kashmir and Himalayas. So different areas have been pointed out as the original homeland of the Aryans. But the consensus of opinion, understand this, the consensus of opinion among historians is the opinion given by Max Muller. So there was a German Indologist. Understand this? There was a German Indologist. His name was Max Muller. Max Muller. Max Muller. So he was a German Indologist. Now, who is an Indologist? German Indologist. Indologist is somebody who takes interest in India's history, culture, philosophy, religion, sciences, arts, etc. So there was a German Indologist called Max Muller, and this Max Muller gave the opinion that they came from Central Asia. He said that they came from Central Asia, and this opinion of Max Muller has been accepted by most of the scholars. Most of the scholars or historians have accepted this opinion given by Max Muller. The next question obviously arises: why did the Aryans come to India? If they were from Central Asia, why did the Aryans come to India? Right? Why did they come to India? So again, understand this. For resources, for grass. Okay, interesting. What do you mean by grass, Brajneet? Can you be specific? They were shifting cultivators. Brajneet, they came for grass for what? Okay, cattles, pastures. Okay, very good. Nomadics. So nomads, very good. Gunjan, Gursharan, probably that's what, you know. Okay, great. Now look here. Interesting. Look here, very nice. So all of you know this topic well. So here, I believe the Aryans were living in this area. Now, they were living in this large area called Eurasia. They were living in this large area called Eurasia. What is this Eurasia? That is that large area, Eurasia, that is from southern Russia to Central Asia. Southern Russia to Central Asia is called Eurasia. So they were living here in this large area called Eurasia, I believe. And what was their main occupation here? Their main occupation was pastoralism. They were pastoralists, that is, cows and pastures, grassland. They were pastoralists, that is, animal husbandry was their main occupation. So cows and pastures were their main source of wealth. Cows and pastures, grasslands were their main source of wealth. So basically, they were pastoralists. So we are told, understand this, we are told that around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather. So all over the world, I believe the weather changed. The population of the Aryans had increased in this area. The population of the Aryans had increased in this area called Eurasia. The population of their cattle had increased. And around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather. And there was a drastic depletion in the grasslands. And therefore, this area, Eurasia, could not sustain the Aryans and their cattle. So therefore, I believe the Aryans began to migrate to different parts of the earth along with their cattle. So Aryans began to migrate to different parts of the earth along with their cattle. One branch went towards Europe. So along with their cattle in search of fresh grasses or pastures or grasslands, they went towards Europe. They came to Ireland. They came up to Ireland. Okay. They came up till Ireland. Another branch went towards West Asia. So one branch went towards the west, another towards West Asia, that is Iran, Iraq, that area, the Fertile Crescent as it is called. So they went there along with their cattle. And another branch came towards India. Understand this? Another branch came towards India. On the way towards India, on the way as they were traveling towards India, they stopped in Iran for some time. From Iran, they entered Afghanistan and stayed in Afghanistan for some time. And via Afghanistan, they entered India. So that is the path taken by the Aryans from Eurasia or Central Asia. So they were living in this large area called Eurasia, but the nucleus was Central Asia. Basically, they were congregated there around the area of Central Asia. And from there, they went to different parts of the earth. One branch came towards India. Well, coming towards India, they stayed in Iran for some time. From Iran, they entered Afghanistan. And from Afghanistan, they came to India. Right. So we will discuss this in detail when we come to that chapter. Now, when they came to India, they lived for the first 500 years in a particular region. So I'll use another map here. So you see here, you have these rivers flowing. So there was this. So don't. So here we have a river called Sindhu, Satudri, Yamuna, and Ganga. So this is the Sindhu River. So they saw a huge river in the path of their migration. They had never seen such a huge river, a gigantic river. So the Aryans called this river as Sindhu. Next to Sindhu, you have another river, Satudri or Satluj, which they called as Satudri. This is the Satluj River. Then we have the Yamuna and then the Ganga. See, this is only for your understanding, not that the rivers are flowing in this direction, right? They will be flowing in other directions, but this makes it very easy for us to understand. So you have the Aryans, when they entered India through the northwest, like this, when they entered India like this through the northwest, for the first 500 years, they stayed in this area. This is called the land of seven rivers. That is Sapta Sindhu region, the land of seven rivers. Sapta Sindhu region. How many years they stayed? 500 years. And only one book, so that is, they stayed between the rivers Satluj in the west or Satudri in the west. Satluj is nothing but, Satudri is nothing but Satluj. So they stayed for between Satluj in the west and Yamuna in the east. And for how many years? For 500 years. And only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. That is the Rig Veda. So from 1500 to 1000 BC, 1500 to 1000 BC, they stayed here for 500 years in the Sapta Sindhu region. And this is called, therefore, as early Vedic period. This is called early Vedic period, also called Rig Vedic period, because only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. Did you get me here, all of you? So they stayed for the first 500 years in that region called Sapta Sindhu region, the land of seven rivers. What are those seven rivers, etc.? I'll come to that later. Can you raise your hands, please? All clear till here? So they stayed for the first 500 years in the Sapta Sindhu region. And from the Rig Veda, what do we know? What do we come to know? We come to know about the geographical knowledge of the early Aryans. So what was the geographical knowledge of the early Aryans? Geographical knowledge about India when they came to this country. What was their political life like? So what was their political structure, polity like, society like? So how was their society organized? How was their economic life? Okay, economy and religion. What are the religious practices of the Aryans? So all this we come to know from the Rig Veda. Yeah, Europe and Asia, that is true. What is the question, Shalu? Sindhu area not live? No. The land of seven rivers. They were living here for the first 500 years in the land of seven rivers. What are the seven rivers? We'll discuss it later. So only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. That is the Rig Veda. Therefore, this period is also called Rig Vedic period. Now, what happened in these 500 years? Understand this. What was their main occupation in this area when they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region? They continued to be pastoralists. In search of fresh pastures, they had come to India. Okay. And they continued to do that occupation even in the Sapta Sindhu region. So they continued to be pastoralists. They continued to be pastoralists. Right? How has the name India come about? When I come to that chapter, we'll discuss. Right? Now what happened? In these 500 years, the population of the Aryans increased. The population of the Aryans increased in these 500 years. The population of their cattle increased. So in other words, the Sapta Sindhu region was not able to sustain the increasing population of the Aryans. So what did the Aryans do? They crossed over into a thickly populated area, a rather thickly forested area. So they crossed the Yamuna. They crossed the Yamuna in large numbers and they entered a thickly forested area known as the Ganga Yamuna Basin. So this is the Ganga Yamuna Basin. So by 1000 BC, understand this, by 1000 BC, they crossed the Yamuna in large numbers and entered a thickly forested area called the Ganga Yamuna Basin or Indo-Gangetic Basin. This is the Ganga Yamuna Basin. And by this time, that is by 1000 BC, they had discovered iron. So they had discovered iron by 1000 BC. So what did the Aryans do? They set fire to patches of the forest. So this was a thickly forested area, Ganga Yamuna Basin. So they set fire to patches of the forest, and with those iron axes and implements, they cut down the forest and made it fit for agriculture. They made it fit for agriculture. So agriculture becomes their main occupation from 1000 BC onwards. So from pastoralism, they become agriculturists. And we have the other part of the Vedic literature. Other part of the Vedic literature, minus the Rig Veda, we have the other books. Samaveda, Yajurved, Atharvaved, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, the epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Dharma Shastras or the Smritis, the law books of India. They're called Dharma Shastras or Smritis, like Manava Dharma Shastra, Yagnavalkya Smriti, Narada Smriti, Brihasmriti Smriti. All this come under the category of later Vedic literature. So the later Vedic books give information about the next phase of the Aryans, that is from 1000 BC. Understand this? From 1000 BC to 600 BC. And this period is called later Vedic period. Why it's called later Vedic period? Because the later Vedic literature, later Vedic literature gives information about the life of the Aryans in the next 400 years. So again, we come to, from the later Vedic literature, what do we know about the geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans? So how was it different from the geographical knowledge of the Rig Vedic Aryans or the early Vedic Aryans? What are the changes in the society or in the polity in the later Vedic period? What happened to the political structure in the later Vedic period? How was it different from the early Vedic period? Society, similarly, what are the changes in the society, economy, and religion? So here, please understand, the concept of a private property comes into existence. Once they took to agriculture, you have something called private property. So during those days, whoever clears the forest and makes it fit for agriculture becomes the owner of that plot of land. So the concept of private property comes into existence. And once they took to agriculture, what was the main occupation in the later Vedic period? Agriculture. So once you take to agriculture, you will not be roaming around. You cannot be banjaras. You cannot be nomads roaming around, You have to stay in one place. So once you begin to stay in one place to engage in agriculture, the concept of a territory comes into existence. Understand this? This is just about understanding this topic. So the concept of a territory comes into existence. Look here, for example, let us say this is a patch of a forest. This is a forest. This is a forest area. And here some people have cleared the forest. So let us say a person called A. He, along with his family members, relations, have cleared this patch of the forest. So this patch of the forest belongs to A because he has cleared the forest and made it fit for agriculture. Similarly, there are others here, B. There's another person here, C. There's another person here, D, and so on and so forth. So they're all living in this area, right? So here the concept of a territory comes into existence, and that is called Janapada. The concept of a territory comes into existence. They're all living in this area. So in the early Vedic period, they were nomads going from one place to another place. There was no concept of a territory. Now, the concept of a territory, Janapada, comes into existence. So in the later Vedic period, we have the birth of small states or kingdoms. So small kingdoms arose towards the end of the later Vedic period, right? So I'll explain that in much more detail when we do that chapter. So small kingdoms came into existence. And we have also cities, emerging towards the end of the later Vedic period. Hastinapur, Kaushambi. So cities came into existence. Main occupation was agriculture. The king began to collect taxes from the farmers. So the bureaucracy had expanded. He had a regular tax collecting machinery. The king was ruling over a particular territory. He had bureaucracy had expanded and he was collecting taxes. So because of that reason, we have the concept of a territory coming into existence, and cities also grew up. trade and commerce flourished. And cities came into existence. So the next chapter obviously is Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. Next chapter you can see here. This is Vedic period. Did you understand? Vedic chapter. So we divide into two parts. Early Vedic period. So Vedic period is from 1500 to 600 BC. 1500 to 600 BC, which is divided into two parts: early Vedic period or late early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period. That is from 1500 to 1000 BC, and later Vedic period, because we have the later Vedic literature which gives information about this period, that is from 1000 to 600 BC. So totally 1500 to 600 BC. This is your Vedic period chapter. And last year UPSC asked how was the Vedic society and religion, or rather they asked how many of the practices are similar to that of the Vedic Aryans, particularly with respect to society and religion. So there are many aspects of Vedic society and religion which are even now followed by us, even after thousands of years. So how is it similar? They had asked. So that was the mains question. So this chapter becomes important not only from the prelims point of view, but also from the mains point of view. Yava, Jaswant will talk about it. The main food was Yava, wheat and barley. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. The details, we'll talk about it. This is the third chapter. Did you get me? So this is your third chapter, Stone Age, Indus Civilization, Vedic period. Then we come to the fourth chapter, that is pre-Maurya period. Understand this? Pre-Maurya period, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha, Persian and Greek invasions and their impact. This is the fourth chapter, pre-Maurya period. Pre-Maurya period, Mahajanapadas on your screen. Maha is what? Maha is large. Maha is large. Janapada is, I told you, territory or territorial state. Territorial state or a kingdom. Territorial state or a kingdom. Now, we have just now seen that towards the end of the Vedic period, so towards the end of the Vedic period, we have kingdoms coming into existence. So pre-Maurya period. Pre-Maurya period. This is from 600 to 300 BCE, 600 to 300. Pre-Maurya period. So pre-Maurya period is also called age of second urbanization. Understand this? Age of second urbanization. Age of second urbanization. It's also called age of the Buddha. Age of the Buddha. Or it is also called Mahajanapadas. Age of Mahajanapadas. Age of Mahajanapadas. Now, we have a Sanskrit book. Understand this? We have a Sanskrit book called, a Buddhist book called Anguttara Nikaya. So there's a Buddhist textbook called Anguttara Nikaya. And this book gives us the list of 16 states, 16 large states which came into existence during this period. In Sanskrit, they are called Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Shodasha means 16. In Sanskrit, Shodasha is 16. Maha means large. And Janapada means kingdom. Yeah, age of but popularly called age of the Buddha. You're right, Shalu, age of Mahavira also, but then generally called age of the Buddha. Both Buddha and Mahavira were contemporaries. And the more famous contemporary was Buddha. Out of the two, Buddha was more famous. He became more famous. Right? Right? So, Shalu, don't take that way. No, Janapada means here territorial state, where people said their food means Janpad. No, the word Janpat wo nahi hai. I mean, what you are saying, don't divide the word into Sandhi and, make your own meaning. Here, Janapada is that territorial state or kingdom. Okay, Shalu. right? So we'll come back here. So this Buddhist book called Anguttara Nikaya gives us a list of 16 states, Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Now, why is it called age of second urbanization also? Anybody? What is first urbanization then? What is first urbanization? You all know. Okay, fine. That is no. That is one way of putting it, Chalu. You're not wrong, but then it literally means state, territorial state. Indus Valley, very good. Age of second urbanization is Indus Valley, very good. Age of second urbanization. So here, age of first urbanization is Indus Valley, and for a period of 1,000 years after the decline of the Harappan civilization, we did not have cities in our country. We did not have cities in our country, and after a gap of 1,000 years, for the second time in our country, in our history, we have cities coming into existence. And the capitals of the Mahajanapadas, understand this, 16 states were there. The capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period. The capitals of the Mahajanapadas. For example, we have Rajagriha, Rajagriha, Pataliputra, Ayodhya, Kaushambi, Vaishali. So, Rajagriha, Patliputra, Ayodhya, Kaushambi, Vaishali, Ahichatra, etc. So these became the principal capitals of this particular period, second urbanization. This is called age of second urbanization. Second time in our history, we have the coming into existence of cities. So we'll be discussing about about this aspect, the highlights of this period, important Mahajanapadas which came into existence during this period. Out of the 16 Mahajanapadas, understand this, out of 16 states which emerged during this period, 11 were monarchies and 5 were republics. 11 were monarchies ruled by kings. 11 were monarchies and 5 were republics. So here also you have a king, but the king was elected. So there was a parliament here. In the republics, they're called Ganarajyas. So they were republics. These were republics. The population was less in the republics. So the king was elected by the people, and you have a parliament which assisted the king in running the affairs of the kingdom. Whereas in the monarchies, all powerful person was the king. Right? So there were 16 states, out of which 11 were monarchies and 5 were republics. And out of these 16 states, understand this, out of these 16 states, one state becomes very, very powerful. That is Magadha. One state becomes very, very powerful. Magadha. That is akin to modern Bihar and Bengal region. So whatever we say Magadha, this Magadhan kingdom was spread over present regions of Bihar and Bengal. And whoever ruled from Magadha, whoever ruled over Magadha or from Magadha was considered to be the most powerful ruler of North and Central India. During those days, whoever ruled from Magadha was considered to be the most powerful ruler of North and Central India. And gradually we have the rise of Magadha. We have the early dynasties which ruled Magadha. We'll be discussing about that Haryanka dynasty, some of the kings who ruled the Haryanka dynasty like Bimbisar, Ajatashatru, so then we have other dynasty, Haryanka dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nanda dynasty. So these are the early dynasties which ruled Magadha. And after the Nandas, we have the Mauryas who ruled from Magadha. So what was the capital of Magadha? Rajagriha and later Patliputra. So we'll be discussing about the reasons for the rise of Magadha. Out of these 16 states, why only Magadha became the most powerful? What are the various reasons for the domination of Magadha and the rise of Magadha? We'll be discussing that, right? And the highlights of this period, age of second urbanization. Then you have the development of ring wells. Cities were founded far away from river valleys. Therefore, once a water source was found, they dug up a well, and wells came into existence, and also cities came to be, in course of time, developed around those wells, far away from river valleys. So we will be discussing about all these things. Pre-Maurya period, age of second urbanization, age of the Buddha, also called age of Mahajanapadas. So what are the reasons for the rise of Magadha? So you can see this chapter here, small chapter, pre-Maurya period, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. So what are the reasons for the rise of Magadha? And then Persian and Greek invasions and their impact. Yeah, Magadha was a monarchy. Yeah, you're right, Kavya. Magadha was a monarchy. So Persian and Greek invasions. So here, as part of this chapter, fourth chapter, we have Persian and Greek invasions. Persia is the old name of Iran, what we now called Iran. Those days was called Persia, and we have a dynasty which ruled Persia, the Achaemenid dynasty. So there was a dynasty called Achaemenid dynasty. Achaemenid dynasty. And the king of this dynasty, his name was Darius the First. Darius the First. In the year 516 BC. In 516 BC, this Darius, in 516 BC, Darius attacks India and he conquers a few parts of India. So what are the areas he conquers? Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. So he conquers these three areas: Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. And the Persians, the Iranians or the Persians, ruled over this area for more than 200 years. They ruled over this area for more than 200 plus years. That was the name of the dynasty, Achaemenid dynasty, Kavya, Achaemenid dynasty. Achaemenid, Achaemenid dynasty. Now, the Persians ruled over this area for more than 200 years. Now, what we need to understand is whether this had an impact on our history and culture. Whether this rule of more than 200 years had an impact on our history and culture. If so, what? If so, what? It did have an impact. For example, you see, the Persians used to use stones in architecture. The Persians used to use stones in architecture. And they used to install pillars. They used to install pillars, just hold on. They used to install pillars like this. So this is, imagine there's a pillar. They used to install pillars like this. These are grooves. So these are made of stone, and there was a capital here. You have depiction of animal, either an animal was shown on top of their pillars, or a human being was shown, or a composite creature was shown. What's a composite creature? Mix of animal and human. So this is called a capital. The topmost part of a pillar is called capital. These are grooves. There were holes in these. There were small holes in these pillars. They were grooves. And they used to polish their stone pillars, which shine like mirrors. So you have these pillars which were made by the Persian kings. Either these pillars were supporting the roof of a palace, or they were installed on top of their palaces. So the Mauryas borrowed this idea of installing pillars and using stone from the Persians, particularly from the time of Ashoka. We have the Ashokan pillars, and on top of those Ashokan pillars, we have some animals. Okay, and there are different parts to an Ashokan pillar. We will discuss this. So the direct inspiration behind these Ashokan pillars was these Persian pillars. So the Mauryas borrowed the idea of using stone in architecture from the Persians, and they also began to install pillars. So this is one impact. There are other impacts. We'll talk about it. So Persian invasion and its effect on India. Did you understand? Hello, I there with me, all of you. So we were discussing that, and then we have one more: Alexander's invasion, Greek invasion on India. Yeah, NWF is Northwest Frontier Province. So Persian and Greek invasions on India and its impact. So when I say Greek invasion, whom do you think of? Whom am I referring to? Obviously, Greek invasion. Greek invasion on India. And what? Alexander. Sakshi says Alexander. Very good. So in 326 BC, we have a person called Alexander who comes all the way, winning everything from Macedonia and Greece up to the borders of India. He comes up to the river Bias. And there was a rebellion in his army. His soldiers and officers had been fighting continuously for 8 years. And they were homesick. They wanted to go back home. But then there was a rebellion, and there had been rebellions earlier also. Those had been violently crushed by Alexander. But this rebellion, was different. His soldiers were determined that they will not fight any further. They wanted to go back. So the man who had never seen any defeat had to turn back, and he went away. But did this have an impact on our history? Alexander came up to the borders of India, and he went back. Did it have an impact on our history? If so, what? That's what we're going to study. This is the fourth chapter, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha and Persian and Greek invasions. Are they with me, all of you? Clear? So far, so good. Kavya, I just showed you a pillar, a Persian pillar, and I told you that the Mauryas also began to install pillars like that. But there is a difference between Persian pillars and the Ashokan pillars. When we do art and architecture, we will talk about it. But then the inspiration for using stone by the Mauryas was from the Persians. Are you there with me? So we'll take a small break, 5 minutes break you take, and we'll come back. 5 minutes break. Hello? Just take a 5 minutes break and I'll continue. Is it fine? Yeah, we'll be talking about it. We'll talk about it. Just 5 minutes break. Five-minutes break. I'll write here. Okay. So leave on Iran slide. Seven to 7:15 is good. Roshan says 7 to 7:15 is good. So can we go on till 7 o'clock then? Hello, all of you students? No need of break now. Okay, 15 minutes का करो गुंजन. तो 7 बजे करेंगे क्या? 7 बजे जाएंगे break. All of you, is it fine? 7 o'clock? Okay, great. We'll go. Okay, fine. So on popular demand, Roshan, we'll go at 7 o'clock. Jaswant says 6:45. 7, I think 7 is fine. 6:45 to 7. 7 to 7:15. Okay, great. Yeah, class will be till 8:30. Okay, Garima wants from 6:40 only. Okay, 6:45 to 7. Is it fine, Roshan? If somebody wants to do namaz, Ramadan is very around the corner. People are doing roza. So some of the students, if they want to pray, let me know, please. So according to your convenience, we can have a break. Okay. Hello, all of you. Is it fine? Okay, 7 o'clock is fine. That's called a capital. Don't worry about it, Kavya. When we come to that chapter, we will talk about it. Don't worry. Okay, 7 o'clock. Okay, fine. We'll go at 7 o'clock for a break. 10-15 minutes break we'll take. Okay, we'll continue now. Okay, Gunjan, 7 to 7:15. Jayenge. Okay, so look here on your screen. So we have covered 4 topics: Stone Age, Indus Civilization, Vedic period, pre-Maurya period, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha, Persian and Greek invasions and their impact. Okay. Now let us come to Mauryan Empire. 5th chapter, Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire. Now tell me, what do you know about the Mauryas? Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire. Hello? Mauryan Empire? Bindusara, Ashoka, okay. Chandragupta Maurya. Sakshi says Chandragupta Maurya, very good. Ashoka was the greatest. Chandragupta Maurya defeated Dhanananda. Okay, great. So Mauryan Empire. Now, you see, real Indian history is said to begin from the Mauryan Empire onwards. Why do we say this? Real Indian history or proper Indian history begins from the Mauryas because we have a number of sources for the study of the Mauryas. So Mauryas ruled from 321 BC, 321 to 184 BC, a period of 137 years. 90 plus 47, 90 plus 47 equal to 137 years. We have the first three Mauryas who ruled for 90 years. Who are the first three Mauryas? Chandragupta Maurya, then his son Bindusar, and then Ashoka. These three Mauryas ruled for 90 years, right? And then 47 years is the period of the later Mauryas. That is Ashoka's successors, sons and successors, ruled for 47 years. But then they were weaklings. They were not very capable men. And therefore, the Mauryan Empire collapsed like a pack of cards. Now, why do we say that real Indian history, real or proper history of India, proper Indian history begins from the Mauryas? Why do we say this? Because we have a number of sources. We have a number of sources. Go back to the previous chapters, Stone Age, we rely on archaeology, right? Obviously, we rely on archaeology. Then Indus civilization, we again rely on archaeology. And the script is there, but we're not able to read the script. And we get some information from the Mesopotamians. But then we mostly rely on archaeology and conjecture, intelligent guesswork. Vedic period, we rely entirely on Vedic literature. And we have derived conclusions. We have derived history from the Vedic literature. Probably this could have been the case. Probably that could have been the case. So exactly we cannot pinpoint. So we mostly get an idea about the Vedic life from the Vedic literature. So everything is not accurate. Pre-Maurya period, again, we do not have much information. But then from the Mauryan period onwards, we have a lot of sources. Both literary sources are there. Literary sources are there for the reconstruction of the history of the Mauryas. Archaeological sources are there. Archaeological sources. And among literary sources, we have both foreign sources, foreign writers, like Greek, Roman writers. Number of Greeks and Romans came visiting India during the Mauryan period and even after the Mauryas decline. Like, for example, Plutarch, Justin, Arrian, Diodorus, Megasthenes, etc. So these scholars, Greek and Roman writers, they give us a lot of information about the Mauryan polity, Mauryan society, Mauryan economy, etc. So we have a lot of foreign sources. Then we have indigenous books, indigenous sources. And among the indigenous books or indigenous sources for the study of the Mauryas, the most important is the Arthashastra, the Arthashastra of Kautilya. Kautilya is also called Chanakya or Vishnugupta, and he wrote a book called Arthashastra. So from the Arthashastra, we get a lot of information about the Mauryan administration, various levels of administration, central administration, provincial administration, district administration, local administration. And we have also a visitor to the Mauryan Empire called Megasthenes. So Megasthenes writes a book called Indica. And from that Indica book also, we get a lot of information about the Mauryas. So we have copious sources, plenty of sources for the study of the Mauryas. Among the archaeological sources, the most important are the edicts of Ashoka. What are edicts? Royal messages. And Ashoka got his messages inscribed or written on the surface of rocks. So they are called rock edicts. Then on the surface of pillars, he installed pillars, and then on the top of those pillars, he got it inscribed, the messages. He also dug up caves. He got caves dug up and donated them to the Ajivika monks. And on the walls of these caves, who are these Ajivikas? We'll talk about it later. So on the walls of these caves, he got some messages written. So these are called rock edicts, pillar edicts, cave edicts. So we have a lot of sources of information for the study of the Mauryas. Therefore, proper or real Indian history is said to begin from the Mauryas. So what do we study in this chapter? We talk about the origin of the Mauryas. Who are these Mauryas? No, how does the name Maurya come about? So we'll talk about the various opinions given by scholars, historians as regards the origin of these Mauryas. Who could have been these Mauryas? Then we talk about the political history of the Mauryas. Apart from the sources, we'll be talking about the political history, right? Political history like Chandragupta Maurya, who overthrew the Nandas, He killed Dharananda and established the Mauryan Empire, made Pataliputra his capital. He conquered everything from parts of Afghanistan to the river Narmada. So till central India, everything was conquered by him. From parts of Afghanistan to central India. He ruled for 24 years. And the concept of welfare state is from him. What is welfare state? That the government exists for the sake of its citizens. So we'll come to know that the concept of welfare state was begun by him. So what are the examples? I'll talk about it later. How do we say that Chandragupta Maurya was the one who initiated welfare state? We'll talk about it. Then he ruled for 24 years. So he conquered all those areas from parts of Afghanistan to the river Narmada in central India, ruled for 24 years. And then we are told that there was a famine going on in Magadha. No, Patliputra was the capital of the Magadhan kingdom or empire. And there was a famine going on for 12 years. There was no rains. So you have a group of Jain monks who were migrating towards South India under their leader called Bhadrabahu. So Chandragupta Maurya gave away the throne to his son Bindusar. And then he came away to South India. He comes away to the present state of Karnataka to a place called Shravana Belagola. He comes to a place called Shravana Belagola, and there he lived for many years in a cave. He became a Digambar monk, and he committed Sallekkhana. What is Sallekkhana? Voluntarily giving up food until one dies. So very fascinating story of Chandragupta Maurya. He defeated Seleucus Nicator. Alexander had died. One of his generals was Seleucus Nicator. So Chandragupta Maurya overthrew the Nandas, later defeated Seleucus Nicator, married the daughter of Seleucus Nicator, and conquered everything from parts of Afghanistan to the Narmada. And then, after ruling for 24 years, he retired and went away to South India and he died there. Then we talk about Bindusar, his son who succeeded him. He's supposed to have conquered South India. Bindusar. And then comes Ashoka, the greatest of the Mauryas, Ashoka. So we'll talk about his Kalinga War, the concept of Dhamma. What is Dhamma? Right? And what happened to the Mauryan Empire after Ashoka? And how did the Mauryan Empire decline and disintegrate and disappear? Right? And then, of course, about Mauryan administration, central administration, provincial administration, district administration. All these details are contained in the Arthashastra of Kautilya. How was the Mauryan society like? Economy, art and architecture. I'll cover it as part of art and culture topic. Art and architecture of the Mauryas. Right? So, and then the decline of the Mauryas. What are the various theories suggested as regards the decline of the Mauryas? Okay, so this is your Mauryan chapter. Uh, we will discuss about Arthashastra. Yeah, it is basically it was a treatise. It was a politico-economic treatise. The Arthashastra. It was a guidebook for the Mauryan king, and you have many chapters. There are 15 chapters, 180 subparts, 15 parts divided into 180 subparts. So, of course, it would be useful. Chanakya Niti, as it is called, the end justifies the means. So, he's called Indian Machiavelli. Machiavelli was an ancient Greek, ancient Greek scholar, historian. He writes the book called Prince. And in that book called Prince, Machiavelli said that whatever the prince does, whatever the king does for the welfare of his subjects, hook or by crook, if the people are happy and comfortable, then it is justified. The means are justified. So the king can adopt any methods or any means, even unfair means, to see that his people are happy and comfortable. So therefore, um, Kautilya or Chanakya is called Indian Machiavelli because he also had the same belief that the means doesn't matter. The end is important, and the end is the welfare and prosperity of the kingdom and its subjects. Okay, so therefore, it's called Indian Machiavelli. So we'll talk about it. So this is Mauryan Empire, right? The fifth chapter in your ancient India syllabus. So fifth chapter. Then we come to post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period. So let us talk about this post-Maurya period. That is what happened after the decline of the Mauryas. Post-Maurya period. A very interesting chapter this is, post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period. 200 BC to 300 AD. A period of 500 years. Now, don't take my map seriously. So please don't take my map seriously. I have never, got it right. But then I will draw something like India's map. Okay. Right. So this is India map. Right. Now we'll come back here. Who are the successors of the Mauryas? Now, understand this. What do we study in this chapter? What are the various topics we study, subtopics we study in this chapter called post-Maurya period, a period of 500 years. Now we have the last Mauryan king. Understand this. Who was the last Mauryan king? A person called Brihadratha. Brihadratha. This Brihadratha was very, very unpopular. And he had a Senapati, commander in chief. His name was Pushyamitra Sunga. His name was Pushyamitra Sunga. So, very ambitious general, Pushyamitra Sunga. And Brihadatta was unpopular as a king. So, what did Pushyamitra Sunga do? In front of the army, in front of the Mauryan army, Pushyamitra Sunga killed Brihadatta and ended the Mauryan dynasty and established the Sunga dynasty. So, we study about the Sungas. So, Sungas succeeded the Mauryas in the north. So, we study about the important Sunga kings like Pushyamitra Sunga, Agnimitra, etc. Sungas were succeeded by the Kanvas. Another dynasty called the Kanvas succeeded the Sungas. Right? So we study about Sungas and Kanvas. Then in the down south, in South India, we have the Shatavahanas. Shatavahanas who succeeded the Mauryas. So they were feudatories or Samant under the Mauryas. Once the Mauryan Empire declined and disintegrated, Shatavahanas proclaimed themselves independent. Right? So we'll study about Shunga dynasty, the Kanvas, and the Shatavahanas. And Shatavahanas are sometimes also called Andhras. They're also called Andhras. So we study about these three dynasties, important Shatavahana kings. They ruled for 460 years. Shatavahanas ruled for 460 years continuously. They had many capitals under 30 kings. 460 years continuously under 30 kings. Right? Now, this was the period when we have some foreigners coming into India and establishing kingdoms. Now, I have given you a small note on Arthashastra Kavya Anjali. So, what is what are the various topics Arthashastra deals with? So that should be sufficient for the exam. As a book, as of now, has the subject expert is telling. There's no time to read Arthashastra now in detail. But then, whatever is relevant from the exam point of view, it is there in the PPTs. Mauryan chapter PPT, it is there. So it will be shared with you. Don't worry. Now we'll come back here. Now this was a time when we have some foreign dynasties who entered India, and they established kingdoms. Foreign tribes came into India and established kingdoms. Now understand this. The coming of these foreign tribes coincided with the construction of the Great Wall of China. So imagine this is China here. Okay. So this side is China. This is China here. So China is here. Now from ancient times, Chinese emperors had a big headache. What was the headache? Central Asian tribes. Tribes from Central Asia. Central Asia, many parts of Central Asia is a cold plateau. You cannot engage in agriculture throughout the year. So for a few months in a year, it is very, very cold. Therefore, you cannot engage in agriculture. In that season, in the off season, the Central Asian tribes who were fierce horse riders. So they used to enter into China and engage in loot, plunder, and rapine. It was a big headache for the Chinese emperors. So what happened is a series of Chinese emperors began to build a wall. They began to build a wall. And this wall came to be called the Great Wall of China, as you all know, the Great Wall of China. And this wall was completed around 220 BC, around this time in the post-Maurya period. This was completed, the wall, the Great Wall of China. So it became very difficult for the Central Asian tribes to enter into China because of this wall, the Great Wall of China. So the coming of certain foreign tribes into India coincided with the construction of the Great Wall of China. So instead of going into China, many of the Central Asian tribes, in other words, came to India. Now the first to arrive were the Indo-Greeks. The first to arrive were the Indo-Greeks. Now understand this. The Indo-Greeks are also called the Bactrian Greeks. They're also called Bactrian Greeks. Now look here. When did Alexander come? Alexander came in 326 BC, isn't it? Alexander came in 326 BC. Right? Now, What was his ambition? What was the ambition of Alexander? To conquer the entire earth, to conquer the whole world. And he couldn't have done it without the help of his officers and soldiers. Now, do you know what is the incentive he gave? Do you know what is the incentive he gave his soldiers? They have left behind their families, in Macedonia, in Greece. They have left behind their families, children, etc., and they are with him. And this fellow was literally a mad fellow, After every campaign, every conquest, he would want to go further and then conquer another kingdom, and then another kingdom, and so on and so forth. So there was no end to his campaigns. And he kept on, forcing his soldiers and officers to move forward and to conquer the next area, so on and so forth. Now, what was the incentive he gave? Every new area conquered meant a new, a new female for his soldiers and officers. He encouraged them to establish relationship with the local women of that area, right? So every new area conquered, he will encourage his soldiers and officers to have a relationship with the local women of that area. So wherever he went and wherever his army went, they brought death, destruction, rapine. And this was a standard feature. This is the way he, encouraged his soldiers. But then the soldiers had it enough. 8 years they had continuously been fighting. They were homesick, and how much ever he forced them, at the end they said they don't want to go further, and there was a rebellion, and he had to turn back. Now, many of the Greek soldiers and officers who were part of Alexander's army did not go back with him. He turned back and went away, but many of them did not go back. Where did they stay there? They stayed in northern Afghanistan. Understand this. No, they stayed back in northern Afghanistan. They married the local women of that area, or had a relationship with the local women of that area. And in Greek records, northern Afghanistan is called Bactria. Northern Afghanistan is called Bactria. So the Greeks who stayed there in northern Afghanistan came to be called Bactrian Greeks. So the first to enter into India, how it happened, I'll tell you later, the details. The first to enter into India were the Bactrian Greeks. Did you understand what I just now told you? Hello, all of you. So once you understand this, it becomes very easy. Clear? So the first to enter into India were the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks. They were the first to come into India. Their greatest king was Milinda or Menender. We'll talk about it. Milinda or Menender. Then the second to come to India were the Scythians or the Shakas. The Scythians or the Shakas. They were the second foreigners to come to India. And you have 5 branches of the Shakas. 5 branches of the Shakas. One branch ruled over parts of Afghanistan, present-day Afghanistan. Another branch ruled over present-day parts of Pakistan. Another branch ruled from Mathura in UP. And 2 branches ruled from Madhya Pradesh, Ujjain and Mandsaur. These were the capitals, present-day Ujjain, and the other was Mandsaur or Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh. So 5 branches of the Shakas. So Shakas were the second to come. The third to come were the Parthians. They were from Iran. Parthia is northern Iran. So they were basically from northern Iran, the Parthians. And the fourth to come to India were the Kushanas. The fourth to come to India were the Kushans, one of the Central Asian tribes called the Kushanas. So this is a sequential order in which these foreigners came to India. And since they were foreigners, they brought with them their distinct culture and way of life. They brought with them their distinct culture and way of life, and influenced our history and society. For example, I'll just give an example. We have the Bactrian Greeks, who came along with Alexander. These Greeks, they used to worship Greek and Roman gods. Like, for example, Apollo. They used to worship Apollo. They used to worship Zeus. These are all Greek and Roman gods. And they used to depict their gods in murtis, in huge idols or images. And in those idols and images of their gods, they are shown with mustache and beard, well-built, robust physique. Their gods have well-built, robust physique. They're tall. They have a mustache. They have a beard. Now, in course of time, these Bactrian Greeks became Indianized. They married the local Indian women. They began to worship Buddha, right? Or some of them began to worship Krishna. And then they began to depict Buddha as a Greco-Roman god. So here Buddha was shown as a man with a robust physique or well-built physique, with a mustache and a beard, with long flowing robes. So in northwest India, what is now called Afghanistan, in that region of Kandahar, those days called Gandhara. A distinct school of art came into existence, known as the Gandhara art. The Gandhara art. Did you get me here? So in Northwest India, we have the Gandhara art. Gandhara art, Gandhara is old name of Kandahar, what we now call Kandahar, Kabul, Kandahar, nowadays called Kandahar, those days called Gandhara. So we have the Bamiyan Buddhas also, the Taliban, about 20 years back, 25 years back, when the Taliban were new, they blasted the Bamiyan Buddhas. About 40 feet tall Buddha idols were there in the Bamiyan mountains. So in Afghanistan. So they blasted and destroyed them forever. So this is the Gandhara art, which existed in northwest portions of India, present day Afghanistan. Similarly, we'll be talking about the Mathura School of Art. All these topics will be covered as part of art and culture. These schools of art, Gandhara art, Mathura art, Amravati School of Art, etc. I'm just trying to give you a broad picture of history, ancient Indian history. Okay, so Bactrian Greeks. So they influenced, they were responsible for the Gandhara School of Art. The Sungas and later the Kushanas promoted the Mathura School of Art. And down south, the Shatavahanas promoted the Amaravati School of Art. Amaravati art or Amaravati School of Art. In the present day, the valleys of the Krishna and the Godavari, we have certain places like Nagarjuna Konda, Goli, Gantashala, Jagayapeta, Amaravati. So in all these places, we have the so-called Amaravati School of Art, which flourished. So we'll be talking about these foreign dynasties, foreigners who came into India. In this sequence, Indo-Greeks or Bactrian Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians and the Kushanas, important kings of these dynasties. For example, the greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka, and Kanishka conducted the fourth Buddhist council. He was the person who hosted the fourth Buddhist council, which took place at Kashmir. So important aspects of their rule we'll discuss, right? Are you there with me? Now, so we'll be studying about the indigenous successors of the Mauryas, Sungas, Kanwas, Shatavahanas. We'll be talking about the foreigners who came to India, as I just now mentioned, Greeks, Shakas, Parthians, and Kushanas. And also down south, I'll use an eraser so that I can make some space. So we'll be studying about the three schools of art also. And then we'll be going down south. Down south, we have the three Tamil kingdoms. Understand this? The three Tamil kingdoms, the Cholas. We'll be talking about the Cholas, the Pandyas, and the Cheras. Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. So Gandhara is Kandahar. Gandhara is Kandahar, Kavya. Now, how do we come to know about these Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas? We come to know about these three Tamil kingdoms through a literature which has come to be called Sangam literature. Sangam literature. And these are called Sangam kingdoms. So what is the meaning of Sangam? Well, I'll tell you later when we come to that chapter, Sangam literature. And so basically Sangam was an academy. Sangam was an academy or a parliament which took place at Madurai. That was the capital of the Pandyas. We have the famous Meenakshi temple at Madurai, isn't it? So at Madurai, there was a academy of scholars in the Pandyan court, or a parliament of scholars in the Pandyan court. And the body of literature this academy of scholars created is known as Sangam literature. The main theme of Sangam literature is the wars between these three Tamil kingdoms. Wars between the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. So the main theme is that wars between Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. But from the Sangam literature, we also come to know about the political, social, economic, and religious aspects of the Deep South. So how was the polity? How was the society? How was the economy? How was the how were the religious practices? We come to know all about the Tamil kingdoms from this Sangam literature. So we'll be talking about that. And also we have one more thing I need to discuss, that is the megalithic culture. Understand this, megalithic culture. So we have in Stone Age, we will be discussing Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic. So down south, here in south, we have a distinct culture called megalithic culture, which came into existence. So I'll be talking about megalithic culture. What is this megalithic culture? Mega means what? Large. Mega size, mega, large. Lithic is stone. So large Stone Age culture. Large Stone Age culture. What is this megalithic culture? We'll talk about it as part of this chapter. And apart from this period, the post-Maurya period is called the Mercantile Age of India. It is called the Mercantile Age of India. India, India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world. India traded with West Africa via the sea, no, via the Arabian Sea. She traded with West Africa, West Asia, including the Roman Empire. Via the Bay of Bengal, she traded with Myanmar or Burma, and then via the Indian Ocean with Indonesia, Malaya or Malaysia, that area, Southeast Asian countries, and also with Maldives, Lakshadweep, Sri Lanka, and also China. So India had flourishing trade with all these countries, and we have the monsoon mechanism, the mechanism of the monsoon, which was discovered. As you all know, monsoon is a seasonal wind. It blows towards India in a particular season, and by June 1st, it touches the Kerala coast. So we are a country dependent on monsoon, and unfortunately, many parts of India we are having a drought-like situation, shortage of water, etc. So here we have had a deficit monsoon. So this is a country which is dependent on monsoon, and this mechanism of the monsoon was first discovered during this period. So we have an Egyptian Greek sailor. His name was Hippolytus. Egyptian Greek sailor called Hippolytus in 46 AD. He noticed that in a particular season, winds are blowing towards India, and it brings rains to India, right? And once this was discovered, we have ships coming to India in the monsoon season because it was easy to sail. They just have to adjust their sails. The wind gets trapped in those cloth, the sails, and then it will push the ship. And they just have to maneuver the ship and come to India. And we have a number of foreigners who began to come to India in the post-Maurya period, in the monsoon season. Why did they come? They came for spices, cotton textiles. And on the west coast and east coast of India, we have ports. Many flourishing ports came into existence, both on the west coast and east coast of India. And we have foreigners coming to pick up spices like pepper, ginger, cardamom, nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, etc. And also cotton textiles. So you will also be studying about, as part of this chapter, the various countries with which India had trade relations, including the Roman Empire. So what are the items of export? What are the items of import? And important ports on the west and east coast of India, right? This is your post-Maurya period. Are you there with me, all of you? This is post-Maurya period. Mercantile ages, India had flourishing trade via the sea. Kavya, India had flourishing trade with various parts of the world. And one more thing you need to remember as part of this chapter, we have the Silk Route. We have the Silk Route, which travels through northwest portions of India. Silk was, the world is following the Chinese method of making silk. What was the Chinese method of making silk? What is the Chinese method of making silk? You see, Chinese, they used to rear silkworms, and then they used to feed the silkworm with mulberry leaf. That's the only leaf it eats, the mulberry leaf from the mulberry plant. So the silkworm starts munching day and night mulberry leaf. And what does it do? Within a few weeks, it puts on huge amount of weight, and it starts weaving a cocoon around itself so that it can go and sit inside that. What the Chinese would do is they'll take this cocoon, which contains the silkworm, and they'll put it in hot boiling water. The worm dies, and then they'll extract silk. This was kept a secret by the Chinese. They never revealed this to anybody, and they would make silk fabrics, and there was a lot of demand for this silk textile, silk fabric, and raw silk in Europe. And route came into existence, a silk route, a 10,000-kilometer silk route, starting from China, traversing through parts of Central Asia, then northwest portions of India, and all the way going to Kashgar. And a traveler, a silk merchant, will travel for some distance. He cannot travel 10,000 kilometers, isn't it? So he will travel from one market to another market, let's say 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and then he'll sell his ware. He'll sell his silk, and then he will come back. He will sell it to another merchant, and that merchant will take it to the next kasbah or a market town, and he'll sell it there for profit, and so on and so forth, like a relay system. This would move. And this silk route passed through northwest portions of India, and the Kushanas were ruling there. And the Kushanas used to control the silk route. They would block the silk merchants, and they will extract taxes from them, collect gold and silver coins as taxes from the silk merchants. So as a result, a lot of gold was flowing into India. Gold and silver was flowing into North India. So we'll talk about the Silk Route later. So all this is part of your chapter called post-Maurya period. Sungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas, okay, foreign tribes who came into India, Bactrian Greeks or Indo-Greeks, the Shakas, the Parthians and the Kushanas, then the Tamil kingdoms, which we come to know through the Sangam literature. So we study about Sangam age and the three Tamil kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, important kings, and what was the polity, society, economy, and religion in the deep south. The megalithic culture, the large Stone Age culture which existed mostly in South India, and of course the mercantile age of India. This is your this is your post-Maurya chapter. Are you there with me? So this is your. Then we'll take a break now and go back. We'll take a break and come back in about 15 minutes. Hello, is it fine? Just take a 15 minutes break and come back. Am I allowed to give you a break 15 minutes or is it 5 minutes? I don't know. I'm not sure. This is the first time I'm doing evening batch. Yes, sir. Yeah, 15 minutes is okay. Okay, fine. Carry on. 15 minutes break. Now it is 6. Now it is, we'll meet at 7:10, 7:11, 7:10. We'll meet at 7:10. Carry on. I hope it is interesting. I hope it is interesting. We'll be studying all these things as part of ancient India. So we'll come back after a break. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good evening, all of you. Can we continue? Am I audible and visible? Great. So, next chapter is Gupta period. You can see here on your screen. So, we have discussed Stone Age, Indus civilization, Vedic period, pre-Maurya period, Mauryan Empire, post-Maurya period. So, we have two more chapters, Gupta period and post-Gupta period. So, let us discuss that. What all we study under this chapter, Gupta period and post-Gupta period. Gupta period. So Guptas ruled from approximately 275 to 550 AD. Now, what do you know about the Guptas? Students, what do you know about the Guptas? Roshan, Hemlata, Sakshi, Anushka, Muskan. Yeah? Anything about the Guptas you remember? You know? Hello? Vikramaditya Gupta, great king. Okay. Um okay. Shailaja says no. Okay. Doesn't matter. Now, Guptas brought most parts of North India under their control. Right? They succeeded the Kushanas. On the ruins of the Kushan Empire, we have the Guptas who brought most of North India under their control. They ruled from Patliputra. So Patliputra was their capital. Like the Mauryas ruled from Patliputra. The Guptas also ruled from Pataliputra. And we have a number of sources for the study of the Guptas. We have a number of sources. We have literary sources. Books are there. Number of books are there about for the study of the Guptas. Literary sources. Archaeological sources are there. Archaeological sources, and among archaeological sources we have um, you know prashastis. We have inscriptions. And among inscriptions we have two types: prashasti prashastis prashastis and dana shasanas. Prashastis and dana shasanas. Now, what are prashastis? Prashastis in English means eulogy. Understand this? Eulogy. Now, what's a prashasti or a eulogy? It only praises the king. Prashasti means it only praises the king. For example, Allahabad Prashasti of Samudragupta, the Aihole Prashasti of Ravi Kirti, Aihole Prashasti of Pulakeshi. So they are only praising the king. They are called Prashastis. So they also give us information about the Guptas. Dana Shasanas. What are Dana Shasanas? These are land grants. Dana Shasanas. Land grants. For example, let's say a Gupta king, let us say Samudragupta, a Gupta king, gave away a certain amount of territory, some villages. Let us say he gave away 50 villages as a gift. So he gave away 50 villages as a gift to one of his ministers, one of his feudatories. Okay, and he got it written, on a copper plate, on a on a copper plate or a stone. These details are mentioned that Samudragupta has gifted this many number of villages to such a person on such and such a date. That's called Dana Shasana. So they also give us a lot of information about the Guptas. Inscriptions are there, coins are there. We have coins. Guptas issued a number of coins. Okay, so coins also give us a lot of information about the Guptas. Coins. In fact, the Guptas issued the maximum number of gold coins. So they also issued silver coins, gold coins, silver coins. So numismatics also give us a lot of information about the Guptas. Then we have the first Chinese traveler who came to India, Fa Hian. Fa Hian. So why did Fa Hian come? He came to visit the land of the Buddha and to collect Buddhist manuscripts, collect Buddhist books, and visit the holy places connected with the life of the Buddha. So he was the first Chinese traveler to come to India. And Fahiyan also gives us a lot of information about the Guptas. So we'll be talking about the political history of the Guptas, important kings. Like, for example, Sri Gupta was the founder of the Gupta dynasty. Sri Gupta. Samudragupta is considered to be the greatest of the Guptas. Samudragupta. He conquered the whole of India almost. Samudragupta. And we have the Allahabad Prashasti, which talks about the brilliant military conquest of Samudragupta. The second greatest Gupta was Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, as some of you have pointed out earlier. So in Delhi, we have an iron pillar, at a place called Mehroli. So we have an iron pillar. This iron pillar, or the Mehroli iron pillar, belongs to the period of Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. Then we have Kumaragupta, during whose period we have the Nalanda University built. So Kumaragupta was the one who built the Nalanda University. And then, of course, we have a person called Skanda Gupta, who is considered to be the last great Gupta, Skanda Gupta. So these are the important Gupta kings. The Gupta period has been called as a golden age. So we will discuss this, whether there is something called a golden age in our history. So why is it called golden age? Because we see remarkable developments in certain areas during the Gupta period, like, for example, art and architecture, then literature, particularly Sanskrit literature, golden age of Sanskrit literature. This was the age of Kalidas. Kalidasa flourished during this period. Navaratnas operated in the Gupta court at Ujjain. So we'll talk about it: art and architecture, literature, sciences like mathematics, astronomy, astrology. They all flourished. So on this basis, art, architecture, literature, sciences, Gupta period has been called by some historians as a golden age. But then we never had a golden age in our history. We can only call the Gupta period as a classical age. Now, why we cannot call it as a golden age, we will discuss it later. We can only call it as a classical age, not a golden age. We never had a golden age in our history. It's only a myth. This golden age concept is a myth. It's not true. Now, we have one of the Central Asian tribes called the Hunas or Huns. So, so we have the first attack of the Huns when Kumar Gupta was ruling. Huns or Hunas, they were Central Asian tribes. They began to attack the Gupta Empire, but then they were repelled. You have Kumar Gupta's son, Skanda Gupta, who defeated the Hunas. Again, when Skanda Gupta became the king, again the Hunas came. Again, they were defeated. But after Skanda Gupta, we have weak rulers. And the Hunas began to repeatedly attack the Gupta Empire. And the later Gupta kings, being weaklings, not men of capacity, they were not able to withstand the repeated attacks of the Hunas. So due to weak successors after Skandagupta, the assertion of power by the feudatories. So the Samants or the feudatories under the Guptas began to assert their independence and the decline of foreign trade. So all these three reasons undermined the Guptas. And in place of the Guptas, so Gupta Empire collapsed like a pack of cards. Guptas had brought most parts of North India under their control, but once the Guptas declined and disintegrated, under them there were a number of Samantas or feudatories, or what is called Samantas. These Samantas proclaimed themselves independent, and we have a number of kingdoms which arose in North India on the ruins of the Gupta Empire, like for example, the Maukharis, the Vardhanas or Pushyabhutis, the Chandras of Bengal, the Gaudas who ruled over Bengal, Gauda Desha. Then of course we have the Hunas who ruled over Malwa, the later Guptas over Magadha. So you have the political fragmentation of North India after the decline of the Guptas. So this is your Gupta period. We'll talk about it. This was the age of Kalidasa, the golden age of Sanskrit literature. Kalidasa, Varahamihira, Brahmagupta. These are all the great astronomers, mathematicians who functioned during the Gupta period. Aryabhatta was the person who gave the concept of zero. He's called the father of algebra. He was the one who gave the heliocentric theory that the sun is the center of the universe and planets revolve around the sun. Earth revolves around its axis. He gave the true cause of solar and lunar eclipses. Brahmagupta anticipated Newton, talking about gravitation, in other words, that it is the nature of the earth to attract and keep things to itself. So he was indirectly referring to gravitation. Brahmagupta. So all these great astronomers, mathematicians functioned during the Gupta period. Gupta period is called, the best quality iron and the best quality copper was made by the Guptas. The best example is the Mehroli iron pillar. Even after more than 1,700 years, we don't see a trace of rust on it. The Mehroli iron pillar. Then, of course, the Sultanganj Buddha, 7 feet tall, standing Buddha, image of the Buddha, which the British carried away to Birmingham Museum. It has been kept in the Birmingham Museum. The Sultanganj Buddha, Sultanganj is a place in Bihar. So there, a copper image of the Buddha was found, and the British took it to England and kept it there in one of the museums. So it's called, so you have remarkable progress in all these areas. And of course, Buddhism became a world religion during the Gupta period. From India, we have a number of Buddhist monks who went to China, like Paramartha, Bodhidharma, Buddha Yashas, Dharma Yashas. So they went to propagate Mahayana Buddhism. And from China, it went to Cambodia, Vietnam, and via Cambodia, Vietnam, it went to the Far East, like Korea and Japan. So so Buddhism became a world religion during this period. We have the epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Dharmashastras, the law books of India. They were all rewritten in classical Sanskrit during the Gupta period. They were rewritten in classical Sanskrit with all the additions, interpolations, and they reached their final form during the Gupta period. So Gupta period is a very important, interesting, important topic, a small topic, but very interesting at that. So this is about a Gupta period. And then one more chapter is post-Gupta period. The last chapter in ancient India, you can see here on your screen. Post-Gupta period. This is the last chapter of ancient India, and that will finish ancient India. So here, so post-Gupta period. So on the ruins of the Guptas, so once the Gupta Empire collapsed, we have a number of independent kingdoms which arose on the ruins of the Gupta Empire. In fact, they were all officers serving under the Guptas. For example, the Chandras of Bengal, the Chandras who ruled over Bengal, the Vardhanas, also called the Pushyabhutis. So they ruled from Sthaneshwar in Haryana. So Sthaneshwar became their capital in Haryana. And the greatest of the Vardhanas was, as you all know, Harshavardhana. Then, of course, we have the Hunas. The Huns ruled over Malwa briefly. Then we have the later Guptas who ruled from Magadha. Then you have the Gauda dynasty, which ruled Bengal with Pragjotishpur as its capital. Sorry, Karna Suvarna has its capital. So these are some of the important successors of the Guptas. And of course, down south, we have two dynasties which kept on fighting against each other. The Chalukyas of Badami, the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. So in this chapter called Post-Gupta period, we will be discussing mainly about the Vardhanas. And among the Vardhanas, the most important king was Harshavardhana. Harshavardhana. And during the time of Harshavardhana, we have the second Chinese traveler who came to India. That is Hyun Chuang, or Hyun Song. So we'll talk about Harsha, how he comes to power, his achievements. He conquered almost the whole of North India. Then Hyun Song gives us a lot of information about Harsha. He was a scholarly king, Harshavardhana. And he decided to conquer South India. So here in this chapter, we'll be discussing this part also. You see, Harsha attacked South India. And here in present-day region of North Karnataka, there was a kingdom. We have the Chalukyas of Badami. Chalukyas of Badami. Who were Samantas? Samantas are the feudatories. We'll come to that, Kavya, don't worry about it. Well, I'll explain in detail when we come to that chapter per se. Right? And then we have the Pallavas. Understand this? Pallavas, who ruled from Kanchipuram. Pallavas. So once we finish Harshavardhana topic, Vardhana topic, then we come down south and we discuss about Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. Now, what is the reason as to why these two kingdoms kept on fighting against each other? So that is very interesting. You see, we have the Chalukyas. The Chalukyas were a plateau kingdom. So if you look at, if you know the geography, you study, you're all geography students as part of UPSC, you study about geography in detail. So this is a plateau kingdom. This was a plateau kingdom, the Chalukyas of Badami. They ruled over a plateau area. Not much of resources. And North Karnataka, is a semi-arid zone. Not much of rainfall takes place. They grow dry crops. Even now, that's the case. Bajra, ragi, jowar. These are the things which are grown. And the main source of income for the Chalukyan king, for any king for that matter, was land revenue. So when they grow dry crops, they can only, you can only have one crop in a year, and in some areas, two crops, wherever there's extra water resources. So the amount of income as land revenue to the Chalukyan king was very, very limited. It was very, very meager. So he had limited resources. At the same time, the Chalukyas were a landlocked kingdom. Their kingdom was not touching the coast. If it was touching the coast, then they could have collected taxes from the merchants and traders who used to engage in foreign trade with various parts of West Asia. But that was not to be so because the Chalukyas were a landlocked kingdom and they had limited resources. The Pallavas were a coastal kingdom. So they ruled over a coastal area, coastal kingdom. They had fertile deltas within their kingdom. 2 to 3 deltas were there, and they could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year. So after every harvest, the Pallavan king will collect taxes from the farmers. So more money was coming into the treasury. So they were very, very prosperous, the Pallavas. And coupled with land revenue, he would also collect custom duties from the merchants and traders. So via the Bay of Bengal, a lot of trade took place, with Myanmar, with Southeast Asian countries, even with China. So a lot of merchants were taxed heavily by the Pallavan king. So he was very, very prosperous. So economically contrasting kingdoms. Chalukyas not so prosperous, Pallavas very prosperous. And between these two kingdoms, there was a fertile belt of land. Understand this. There was a fertile belt of land. The Krishna Tungabhadra basin, the KT basin, the Krishna Tungabhadra basin, or what is called Raichur Doab. The Raichur Doab, right? And the Chalukyas were desperate to gain control over this particular area, the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. They thought if they conquer this area, then they'll be better off. Their position will be better off. Economically, they'll be much more prosperous. And why should the Pallavas allow that to happen? They also wanted the Krishna Tungabhadra basin, the Pallavas. So this became the bone of contention between the Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas. And they kept on fighting against each other. The Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas kept on fighting against each other over this area to gain domination over this area. So it was geography which determined history in this case. So what happened? Constant warfare. Chalukyas of Badami. No, Badami is in the present day Bagalkot district of Karnataka. In the present day Bagalkot district. Who's this Kavya, right? Now, constant war. So war entails loss of men and material resources. War doesn't benefit anybody. It only results in loss of men and material resources. So constant conflict between these two weakened both of them. So what happened? These two kingdoms became weak. In place of the Chalukyas, we have the Rashtrakutas who came to power. Rashtrakutas. They were under the Chalukyas of Badami. They were working as feudatories or officers, samantas. So once the Chalukyas became weak, the Rashtrakutas asserted themselves. They proclaimed themselves independent and they began to rule in place of the Chalukyas. The Pallavas also became weak, constant conflict with the Chalukyas. So Pallavas were succeeded by the Cholas. So Rashtrakutas and Cholas fought over this area, over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. So we'll be studying this as part of medieval India, Rashtrakuta Chola conflict. Then constant conflict between the Rashtrakutas and the Cholas weakened both of them. So as a result, the Rashtrakutas became weak and they were succeeded by the Kalyana Chalukyas. We have another dynasty called the Kalyana Chalukyas. They had Kalyana as their capital. They're called Kalyana Chalukyas. They ruled from Basava Kalyan, modern Basava Kalyan in Bidar district of Karnataka. That was their capital. That's why they're called Kalyana Chalukyas. So they took the place of the Rashtrakutas. And the Kalyana Chalukyas also fought against the Cholas. And both of them became weak. The Cholas were succeeded by the Pandyas. The Cholas were succeeded by the Pandyas. And the Kalyana Chalukya kingdom also became weak. It got split up into three states. We have the Yadavas of Devagiri. Then we have the 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 um, the Hoysalas, the Yadavas of Devagiri, the Hoysalas, and the Kakatiyas. So the Kalyana Chalukya kingdom got divided into three parts: Yadavas, Hoysalas, Kakatiyas, and then Cholas were succeeded by the Pandyas. Right. So we study all this as part of a flow. We stop with Chalukya Pallava conflict, and when I enter medieval India, early medieval India, we'll be talking about Rashtrakuta, Cholas, Kalyana Chalukyas, Hoysalas, Yadavas, Pandyas, etc. So this is how history flows. Are you there with me? And later in medieval times, we have Vijayanagara. Vijayanagara fought against the Bahmani Sultans, also over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Vijayanagara fought against the Bahmani Sultans. KT, Kavya, Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Krishna Tungabhadra basin, KT basin. There's no space there. I've written, when we come to the chapter, we'll do it, don't worry. Krishna Tungabhadra. Tungabhadra is a tributary of the river Krishna. So they began to fight over this area, Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Clear? And in medieval times, we have Vijayanagara fighting against Bahamanis over this area also, Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Yeah, Devagiri means Maharashtra. Yes, Hemlata. Devagiri, off outskirts of Aurangabad, Maharashtra. Did you get me? Yeah? Yeah, I'm Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Yes. Yeah, Bhimare, yes. So I know many languages, but then, yeah, we'll come back here. Where is Vijayanagar? Vijayanagar, Vijayanagar kingdom, we'll talk about it. Vijayanagar kingdom has part of medieval India. Hampi was their capital. So Vijayanagar kings ruled over present regions of major parts of Andhra, Karnataka, parts of Tamil Nadu. They ruled over major parts of Andhra, Karnataka, and parts of Tamil Nadu. The Vijayanagar kings. Okay, did you get me that? So this is about ancient Indian history. Clear? This is a bird's eye view. A little bit more than a bird's eye view. So I've given you entire history of ancient India in one class, one session. Now we'll come to the first chapter. Clear? So Aram se, even if you want to go ahead when you read your textbooks, you're welcome because you now know the flow of history. Stone Age, Indus civilization, Vedic period, pre-Maurya period, Mauryan period, post-Maurya, Gupta, post-Gupta. Now book list. We'll come to the book list. Now it again depends upon when you're writing the exam. If you're writing the exam in June, so you can read both these books or one of these books, Ancient India by R.S. Sharma. So this is the book recommended by Byju's, Ancient India by R.S. Sharma. And you can supplement that with Poonam Dalal Dahiya's book. People who are having less time, if you're preparing for some other state service exam, etc., you can read Poonam Dalal Dahiya. It covers both ancient and medieval India. Tata McGraw-Hill publication. But if you have already studied Ancient India by R.S. Sharma, please stick to it. You can read, if you have time for revision purpose, maybe you can read one or two chapters from Poonam Dalal Dahiya. Selective reading you can do as a supplement to R.S. Sharma. But stick to one book, either R.S. Sharma or Poonam Dalal Dahiya. Once you're thorough with that book, and if you have the time, then you read selective chapters from either of those books. One book is sufficient. Pritam, PPTs are sufficient. I would say, Pritam, I have covered about 80%. I will say 80% is there in my PPT. 80%. 20%, 25%, you have to read it from your textbook. Read one textbook. That should be sufficient. Apart from PPT, one textbook you read. For Ancient India, R.S. Sharma. For Medieval India, Satish Chandra. That should be sufficient. Right? Or you can read Poonam Dalal Dahiya's book, which covers both Ancient and Medieval India. One book is sufficient. Either of those two. Clear? Now let us come to the first chapter. Okay, prehistoric cultures or Stone Age. Let us come to this chapter. Prehistoric cultures or Stone Age. Can we? Now, first chapter. So, what is history? I have given you a synopsis. Before every chapter, I have put a synopsis. So, I'll be following this sequence. What is history? We have discussed what is prehistory, what is proto-history. Then Stone Age. We'll talk about Stone Age. Then Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic ages, characteristic features, tools, important sites pertaining to these three phases. Then what is Chalcolithic age, features, Chalcolithic cultures and sites. So this is how I'll be proceeding. Now, what is history? You know, all those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history. all those happenings of the past which have been written down and understood is history. Prehistory, we do not have any written records. We rely on archaeology for the reconstruction of the history of that period. That is called prehistory. Proto-history is we have written records, but we are not able to read them. It has not yet been deciphered. We are not able to read them because they are yet to be deciphered or decoded. So that comes under the category of proto-history. Right? Now, Stone Age. Why is it called Stone Age? Understand this, very simple. All the tools and instruments or implements used by early man were made of stone, and hence called Stone Age. All the tools and instruments used by early man were made of stone, hence called Stone Age. And on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, Stone Age has been divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Okay, so on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology. Now, there are four stages in the evolutions of the Earth crust. There are four stages in the evolution of the Earth's crust. The fourth stage is supposedly called Quaternary, which is divided into two parts, Pleistocene and Holocene. What is Pleistocene? Ice Age. Pleistocene is Ice Age, and Holocene is Ice-Free Age. We are living in the Holocene epoch, Ice-Free Age. Now, let us come to, we'll come to the Stone Age part. So, man appeared first in Africa. Man is supposed to have originated in Africa first, and from Africa, he migrated to different parts of the earth. As you know, the continents looks different. The continents look different than what they are now. So you have the, what you call the continental drift theory. So continents were different looking, when compared to how they look now. So man originated from Africa, and from Africa, he's supposed to have gone to different parts of the earth. The earliest evidence of man in India is from the Bori caves of Maharashtra, as early as 14 lakh years ago. So from the Bori caves of Maharashtra, we have the earliest evidence of presence of man in India, as early as 14 lakh years ago. Stone Age is divided into these three periods, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. On the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, Stone Age has been divided into three parts, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Hello, are you there with me? Note making an approach for the subject. Deepshika, now how do you do this? Now you don't need to make elaborate notes. It all depends upon the student. But then, if the information is dispersed, you have for one topic, you are getting information from 3-4 books. Then you consolidate those notes in one piece of paper, in a few sheets of paper. But if it's already there in the textbook, you underline, highlight, and try to revise the underlined and highlighted portions. So you'll save a lot of time. So it is again, it varies from student to student. Some people make notes. Some people prefer to read the textbook and mark it on the textbook itself. It is it is student specific. It all depends upon the student. But if it is dispersed, as I told you, you bring it together and write it in one note, one note making, right? And then you can always refer to some videos on YouTube. On YouTube, you have videos like how to make notes, how to make notes, um, how to study effectively, okay, how to prepare for exams better. Such things are there on YouTube, 10-15 minutes videos. So you listen to those videos, see those videos, and try to incorporate some of those techniques there. So everybody makes notes. It all depends, how they make. But they don't make elaborate notes because you don't have the time. But then, if it is going to help you, please do it, right? But then bring it together. Bring it together. So you can use the PPT as the base. I told you 80% of the information is there in my PPT. When you read the textbook and you find something new, add it to the PPT. So you take you can take a Xerox if you want in a sheet of paper. So if you tell the Xerox person 4 slides in one sheet, A4 size sheet, like this, he can give it to you like this. One sheet of paper, 4 slides. You can put it and take a Xerox. So that becomes the handy sort of notes for you. And if something new you read in your textbook, you can add it to your notes. You have everything in one bunch. That should be sufficient. Did you get me? Yeah, it is like a note. It is like a base, right? It is like a base. You can use that. So already the groundwork has been done by me. You just have to add something. Just read one textbook. Whenever some new information is there, I might have omitted that. You might have find it important. You add it to your notes. That should be sufficient. Okay, we'll come back here. So Stone Age is divided to Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology, this has been divided like this. And please understand, we even now continue to do that. Age has been divided to Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic on the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology. And even now, take the example of our mobile phone, right? Every year there's a new model brought out by some companies like Apple, etc. iPhone, you have a new model. Nothing wrong in the old model, but then something new, something sleeker, maybe lighter, faster. So we are not happy with whatever tools and implements we're using now. For example, car. Recently, Tata has brought a new Nexon. Nothing was wrong with the old Nexon, but they have made some improvements. They feel that this looks better or much more beautiful, much more sleeker. Brezza, Maruti company Brezza has brought out a new model, a little bigger, wider. So we continue to improve our tools and implements even now. What began in the Stone Age. Now we'll come back here. Paleolithic Age. How was man's life in the Paleolithic Age? Paleolithic means what? Paleo is old. So very simple. Paleo is old. Lithic is stone. So this is called Old Stone Age. Old Stone Age. So how was man's life in the Paleolithic Age? Now, first of all, remember this. Very simple. Basically, man was a hunter and a gatherer. So in the Paleolithic Age, man was a hunter and a gatherer. So he would hunt wild animals and he would gather fruits, tubers, berries, seeds, and eat them up. Basically, he was a hunter and a gatherer. Right? This is number one. Secondly, depending upon the availability of food and water, he would go from one place to another place. For example, he was nomadic in nature. He was basically nomadic in nature, going from one place to another place, depending upon the availability of food and water. For example, in summer season, he is in one place. In winter season, he is in another place. So depending upon the availability of food and water. Now, generally in the Paleolithic Age, we have the Pleistocene epoch. So Pleistocene epoch was going on when the Paleolithic man was living on this earth. That is, major parts of the earth was covered with ice. So this was the ice age. So when the Paleolithic man was existing on this earth, we also have parallelly the ice age going on. In other words, the Paleolithic man was contemporaneous with the Pleistocene epoch. He was contemporaneous with the Pleistocene epoch. He lived parallelly along with the ice age. Major parts of the earth were covered with ice. Now, the Paleolithic man he belonged to a species um, before the Homo sapiens sapiens. So we are all Homo sapiens sapiens. Understand this? We all of us are Homo sapiens sapiens. Homo sapien, meaning modern man. What is the meaning of modern man? Thinking man. Modern man means thinking man. That is, our brains are much more thinking man. Our brains are much more advanced than that of our predecessors. One of the reasons, the main reason why we are all existing even now is because our brains are much more advanced compared to our ancestors. So the Paleolithic man belonged to a species prior to the Homo sapiens sapien. So what are the examples we have? Neanderthal man. You see here on your screen? So we have the Neanderthal man. Fossils of Neanderthal man. So he belonged to the Paleolithic species. Similarly, fossils of Ramapithecus have been found in the Sivalik region. So Ramapithecus, Neanderthal man, these are all Paleolithic man. They were not Homo sapiens sapien. So Paleolithic man belonged to a species prior to the Homo sapiens sapien. So then obviously the question arises, when did modern man arise or Homo sapiens sapien arise on this earth? Towards the end of the Paleolithic age. Towards the end of the Paleolithic age, end of Paleolithic age, we have the arrival of or arrival of Homo sapien. Homo sapien. Right now, generally, Paleolithic man lived on the banks of a river, in a cave, very near to a river. So he lived in a cave, natural caves. He lived in natural caves. Lived in natural caves, very near to the bank of a river. Generally, plain areas were avoided. Plain areas were avoided. So why did he prefer to live in natural caves very near to a river? On your screen, you can see here. So here you can see people to the right of your screen. So here they are living inside a cave, and this is very near to a river. So why did they want to stay near a river? Because you have water. They required water for their sustenance and stones to make tools and implements. And stones were readily available on the banks of the river. And when wild animals come to drink water, they will have a better chance of a successful hunt. So they prefer to live inside a natural cave very near to the bank of a river. Plain areas were generally avoided. They were basically hunters and gatherers, right? And then the Paleolithic man knew how to kindle fire. He now knew how to make fire. But then fire was only used to keep himself warm, and protect himself from wild animals. Protect himself from wild animals. So he used to use fire only to keep himself warm and to protect himself from wild animals. In other words, he should never cook food on fire. He ate everything raw. So he knew how to kindle a fire, and fire was used to keep himself warm and to protect himself from wild animals. He would eat everything raw. Food was not cooked on fire. And he would cover his body with the fur and skin of animals. So, fur and skin of animals, bark of trees, these were used to cover his body to protect himself from the cold. Not there was no concept of shame and all that. This is just to keep himself warm. So this is how the Paleolithic man lived. Did you understand? So he lived in the Pleistocene epoch. Major parts of the earth was covered with ice. He was basically a hunter and a gatherer. He will hunt wild animals and gather fruits, tubers, berries, seeds, and eat them up. He was nomadic in nature, going from one place to another place in search of food. Then, and he belonged to a species prior to the Homo sapien. So he looked different from all of us, the Paleolithic man. Only towards the end of the Paleolithic age, we have the origin of Homo sapien. He lived inside a natural cave very near to a river because he required water for his sustenance and stones to make tools and implements. He knew how to kindle a fire, and fire was used only to keep himself warm and to protect himself from wild animals. And he would cover himself with the bark of trees and fur and skin of animals. Clear? Did you get me that? Yeah. So, as the subject expert has put, Roshan, this was more of a trailer. What I gave you was sort of a bird's eye view. That's why I mentioned as an overview. Now I'm giving you the details. Okay. He would cover his body with the fur and skin of animals and the bark of trees to keep himself warm. Okay, Sakshi. Right. Then look here on your screen. Through a technique called flaking, he would make. Roshan, did you understand? All these things I have not discussed in the overview. Now I'm giving you the details. They knew how to kindle a fire, Shailaja. They knew how to make fire. Okay, now through a technique called flaking, they used to make crude to specialized tools. Now, what is this flaking? Like, for example, you take two bricks and you smash both the bricks against each other. You hit the bricks against each other. What will happen? Small pieces of bricks will fall down. Similarly, they'll take a big stone and a small stone. You can see on your picture. You see this? This is a hammer stone. A big stone is taken, called a hammer stone, and then you have a smaller stone. And with the hammer stone, there he is hitting the smaller stone. Then these are small pieces, flakes. They fall down. Okay, so irregular pieces will fall down like this. Now what will he do? He will work on those flakes. He will work on those flakes and he will sharpen it. Maybe he will make it like an arrowhead. This is like an arrow, right? And he'll put a stick, or he might make a spear. He might make a spear like this and put a stick. So this is a much more effective weapon. So he used crude to specialized tools. And we have the hand axe. We have found a hand axe from Isampur. This is in the Hunksi Valley of Gulbarga district, Karnataka. Hand axe. So look at the hand axe of the Paleolithic age. So see, you can see here, this is the hand axe, a picture of a hand axe from Isampur, Hunksi Valley, Gulbarga district, Karnataka. The picture of a hand axe. So he used different types of tools, crude to specialized tools through a technique of flaking. And um, so here, so the Paleolithic age divided into three periods. This is not very important. Early Paleolithic, early or lower Paleolithic, middle Paleolithic, and late or upper Paleolithic. So Paleolithic is subdivided into three periods: early, middle, and lower and late or upper Paleolithic. Now these are the various tools used on your screen: hand axes, cleavers, choppers, flakes, blades, points, borers, scrapers, parallel-sided blades, and burins. Now he might have used tools of wood and bone. Early man, Paleolithic man, might have used tools of wood and bone, but they have not survived because they are perishable by nature. So they have not survived. Okay, now look at the picture on your screen. These are the various types of Paleolithic tools used by Paleolithic man. Chopper, you can see on your screen. Chopper, this is a chopper. Then biface, knife, scraper, blade, harpoon to hunt fish. Okay, this is a blade. Then spear thrower, javelin, needle, perforated. The different types of tools. Now the question is, where are these tools found, or Paleolithic sites? Where are the Paleolithic sites? So here, first of all, the first Paleolithic site in India was discovered by this man, Robert Brucefoot, near Pallavaram, Chennai. So at a place called Pallavaram near Chennai, I marked it in the map. So at a place called Pallavaram near Chennai in 1863, he found the first Paleolithic site. That is, site which contained Paleolithic tools. And therefore, Robert Brucefoot is called the father of Indian prehistory. Robert Brucefoot is called the father of Indian prehistory. So in a nearby place, apart from Pallavaram, we have another place near Chennai called Attirampakkam. So on your screen, Attirampakkam. So this is another place called Attirampakkam. Here also we have found Paleolithic tools. So Pallavaram and Attirampakkam. So apart from Pallavaram and Attirampakkam, we have other sites. For example, Soan Valley in the Punjab, Narmada Valley in Madhya Pradesh, Belan Valley in UP, Didwana in Rajasthan, Kurnool district of Andhra, and Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh, which is the most important Paleolithic site. Not very important, Mega. Just understand the main. This table is not very important. Don't worry about the table. I have put it for your convenience. Early or lower Paleolithic. These are the various tools. General tools, you remember. They will only ask you the sites. They will not ask you what type of tools were used. If at all they ask you, they will ask you in UPSC the sites or places where Paleolithic tools have been found. Okay, did you understand? Kavya. We look at the question in the end, Raushan, just hold on. Okay. Not many questions have come from this chapter in the UPSC exam, but we will not omit any chapter. We will do it in a detailed manner. Now, I told you, no, not very important. Not very important. Just know the general idea. Important places. This is more important. In fact, this is more important. Where are Paleolithic tools found? What are the Paleolithic sites? That is more important from the exam point of view. Okay, just know hand axes, cleavers, choppers, blades, burins, okay, etc. These are the these are the Paleolithic tools. And they are what are the places where they have been found? These. I have mentioned it on the PPT. Yeah, Hemalata. Bhimbetka is a very beautiful place. That is true. There are 800 caves at Bhimbetka, and out of the 800 caves, 500 of them have paintings, okay, on many of their walls. So we'll come back here. So this is Paleolithic age. Are you clear? Paleolithic age. This is Paleolithic age. Roshan, wait. Let us cross the bridge when we arrive there, Roshan. Once I discuss the entire chapter, I'll come to the questions. At the end of the chapter, I have put some questions, including UPSC questions. Then we'll discuss that. Okay, now wait. Then we come to Mesolithic age. Mesolithic age, Middle Stone Age. Now understand this, Middle Stone Age. It is the intermediate stage between Paleolithic and Neolithic. So Paleolithic came first, Paleolithic. Then you have the Mesolithic. So it comes in between the Paleolithic and the Neolithic age. Therefore, this is the intermediate stage. Intermediate stage in Stone Age culture. Intermediate stage. Now, what happened in the Mesolithic age? How was man's life in the Mesolithic age or Middle Stone Age? Now, please understand, by the time the Mesolithic age began, the Pleistocene epoch had come to an end. The Ice Age had ended. Ice Age had come to an end. Ice Age had ended by the time the Mesolithic age had begun. So, in other words, the earth had become warmer. You have new flora and fauna, new plants and animals, flora and fauna. So, it was much more comfortable for the Mesolithic man to survive and thrive on this earth when compared to the Paleolithic age because the Ice Age had come to an end. Now, how was man's lifestyle in the Mesolithic age? How was man's life in the Mesolithic age? Now, very simple. He continued to be a hunter and a gatherer. Understand this? He continued to hunt and gather. But towards the end of the Mesolithic age, end of the Mesolithic age, he began to engage in settled agriculture on a small scale. So he began to cultivate wild varieties of crops on a small scale. And he also began to domesticate animals on a small scale. So he took to settled agriculture on a small scale. So whatever wild crops he was gathering and eating, he began to cultivate them on a small scale. So that resulted in small settlements coming into existence. And also, on a small scale, he began to engage in animal husbandry. So, did you understand? So, he began to cultivate wild varieties of crops on a small scale and also began to engage in animal domestication on a small scale. Right. Now, let us look at the features of Mesolithic age. First of all, on your screen, you can see here cultivation of wild varieties of crops, birth of small settlements. Then we have construction of artificial shelters. So we have evidence of the earliest constructed houses in India. In the Paleolithic age, used to live in natural caves. But at a place called Sarai Nahar Rai in UP, Uttar Pradesh, we have evidence of artificial shelters, that is man-made houses. Artificial shelters are found at Sarai Nahar Rai. These are the earliest constructed houses in India. We have intertribal conflicts, evidence of intertribal conflicts leading to wars, again from Sarai Nahar Rai. Now, how do we know this? That you have intertribal conflicts through paintings. So, on the walls of paintings, yeah, uh, yeah, that is true, Meghna. Just hold on. So here we on the walls of some of these caves we find paintings where we see one tribe fighting against another tribe. So we have evidence of intertribal conflicts leading to wars. So this is number two. Then in the Mesolithic age, Mesolithic man began to make pots with hands, handmade pottery. So beginning of pottery, handmade pottery. Example, Chopani Mando UP. From Chopani Mando, we have evidence of handmade pottery. Then animal domestication began on a small scale. Domestication of animals on a small scale, both for dairy and meat, both for dairy as well as meat, right? Then we have evidence of earliest herding from Bagor in Rajasthan and Adamgarh in Madhya Pradesh. What is herding? Herding of cattle. So you have the cow herd who takes the cattle for grazing in the morning. So they are all taken in a herd. So you have evidence of herding from Bagor in Rajasthan, and Adamgarh in Madhya Pradesh. Are you there with me? So, so towards the end of the Mesolithic age, Deepshika, I said at the end of the Mesolithic age, we have domestication of animals on a small scale, and also cultivation of wild varieties of crops on a small scale. So towards the end of the Mesolithic age, he began to do this, right? Prachuria Sarkar, I'll not be able to answer that, sir. Prachuria Sarkar, right? I hope the subject expert is able to give you an answer. That is a separate department, so I'll not be able to answer that. So no, just before the yeah. So only towards the end of the Paleolithic age, modern man appeared, Ankush. Only towards the end of the Mesolithic age, Homo sapiens sapien appeared. Otherwise, the Paleolithic man looked different from the modern Homo sapiens sapien. Right? Right. So then, of course, the Bogor is the largest Mesolithic site in India. Bogor is the largest Mesolithic site in India. Now, what are the type of tools used by Mesolithic man, and what are the places where these tools have been found? On your screen, Mesolithic man used microliths, that is very small stone tools, and hand axes. Now we have seen so what are microliths? On your screen you can see very small stone tools. These are called microliths, very small stone tools. Micro is small, minute, lith is stone. So very small stone tools, microliths, and hand axes. But then you know how a hand axe of the Mesolithic age looks like. So this is a stone. Imagine this is a stone. So what did the Mesolithic man do? He took a stick. He attached a stick to it, and then with the help of animal skin, dry animal skin, he has tied it up like this. So this is a much more effective weapon when compared to the hand axe of the Paleolithic age. Look here on your screen. This is the hand axe of the Paleolithic age. You see, this is the hand axe of the Paleolithic age. It did not have a handle. But in the Mesolithic age, he has slightly advanced his tools. He is beginning to make microliths, very small stone tools, and also he has used hand axe, that is handheld stone tools attached to thick branches from trees with rope made from animal skin and sinew. Right? This is the two types of tools used by Mesolithic man. And where have such tools been found in India? Mesolithic age, on your screen, important Mesolithic sites. These are the places where Mesolithic tools have been found. Bagor in Rajasthan, Bagor in Rajasthan, Adamgarh in Madhya Pradesh. Bhimbetka continued to be occupied even during the Mesolithic age. From the Paleolithic age, it continued to be occupied. So paints made of natural red and white pigments have been found here in Madhya Pradesh, Bhimbetka, Chota Nagpur area of central India, Madhya Pradesh area, and of course areas south of the river Krishna. So these are the important places where Mesolithic tools have been found. Sinew is that, Hemlata, sinew is like, the fat attached to the nerves around that, skin, and then you have nerves and sinews. It is used interchangeably along with nerves. So the fiber, the fat fiber is called sinew. So that was used along with the animal skin to haft or tie up the stone with to the branches of the trees. Are you there with me? So it will be shared with you, Megha. Don't worry. PPTs will be shared with you in case they have not, if you have not got it. Now, please understand one more thing. Many of you, apart from UPSC, may be preparing for state services. The syllabus is almost the same. UPSC syllabus and state service syllabus is almost the same. But then, when you want to study for your state service, it could be Maharashtra, it could be Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, West Bengal, etc. Some of you may be appearing for them for those exams also. What you do is you look at the Paleolithic sites in, let us say, Maharashtra. What are the Paleolithic sites in Maharashtra? If you're preparing for Maharashtra Public Service Exam or Karnataka Public Service Examination, you attach those sites, add those sites, Paleolithic sites in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu or in Orissa, Rajasthan, UP, whichever state service exam you're preparing. Add those sites to this information. Did you get me that? Bihar, for example, Bihar State Service, right? Megha is studying for Bihar State Service. So important Paleolithic sites found in Bihar, important Mesolithic sites of Bihar, important Neolithic sites of Bihar. So that is extra information. You add it to this. Ho gaya. Your preparation is done for state service also. Okay, did you understand? So then we come to the next segment. Okay, fine, Mega. You prepare for whatever exam you want, but then whatever, if you're studying for UPSC, because UPSC is called mother of all exams, it's called the mother of all exams. It will open up avenues for students to prepare for other exams because you study all the subjects in other exams also. Uh, so if you're preparing for a particular state service together with UPSC, you add those information accordingly, right? Did you get it? What I'm trying to tell you? No, I'm not from UP. Doesn't matter where I am. Are you able to understand that topic? That's more important. My background is not important, right? Don't take me otherwise. But then if you're able to understand the subject, that is more important, right? Okay, good. Now we'll come back here. Then Neolithic age. Understand? So we have discussed Paleolithic age, then we have discussed Mesolithic age. Now let us come to Neolithic age. Very simple, very interesting topic. Now look here. Neolithic age. Neolithic age. New Stone Age. Neolithic age or New Stone Age. Neolithic age is also called Neolithic Revolution. It is also called Neolithic Revolution. And we have a British historian called Gordon Childe. Gordon Childe calls the Neolithic age as Neolithic Revolution. What did man do totally different in the Neolithic age that it revolutionized his life? That's what we need to understand. What did man do totally different in the Neolithic age that it revolutionized his life? Now, according to Gordon Childe, what he says is man took to settled agriculture on a large scale. So during this period, we have seen this in the Mesolithic age. Towards the end of the Mesolithic age, he began to cultivate wild varieties of crops on a small scale and began to engage in animal husbandry also on a small scale. But in the Neolithic age, on a large scale, he began to engage in agriculture and also animal husbandry. And this brought about a revolution in his life. How did it revolutionize his life? Now look here. Let's say there is a tribe of 500 people. In a tribe, there are 500 members. The people were all living in tribes during those days, isn't it? So let us say there are 500 members in a tribe in the forest. They're living in the forest. And out of these 500 people, let's say about 150 people, or let's say 200 people, began to engage in agriculture. They took to agriculture. Now, whatever these people, 200 people, grow, is enough to feed the entire tribe for a few weeks or a few months. Whatever they grow on the land is enough to feed the entire tribe for a few weeks or a few months. So, obviously, you have a surplus generated. Through agriculture, a surplus food is generated. And this surplus food was stored inside pots. Right? Now, during this period, we have wheel-turned pottery coming into existence. Wheel-turned pottery. So they began to make wheel-turned pottery. That is number one. Number two is man began to cook food on fire. He began to cook food on fire. Now, please understand, once a sizable population begins to engage in agriculture, you have a surplus food generated. And that food is stored inside pots, as we have seen. So therefore, the entire tribe or major members of the tribe have extra time for other things to do, other cultural pursuits. Earlier, what was the case? Out of 24 hours, understand this, out of 24 hours, let's say sometimes 10 hours, sometimes 15 hours, or even 18 hours is spent in searching for food. So they have gone into the forest to hunt. So the hunt might become successful immediately, or they might miss the hunt. They might have shot an arrow at an animal or a spear at an animal. It wounded the animal, but somehow the animal escaped and went away. So they have to go hungry till they are able to have a successful hunt. So till they have a successful hunt, they have to go hungry, and it might take 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. in looking for food in the forest. But now that immediate necessity of food was taken care of because they have cultivated the food on farms, and they have stored the food in pots. So man had time for other things to do. He had time for cultural pursuits. So what did he do during that time, that spare time? He began to build better houses. So he built better houses. He began to cultivate cotton, and he began to drape a cotton cloth. So he cultivated cotton during this period and began to make a cotton cloth and drape it around his body. Then he discovered minerals. He discovered minerals and metals under the ground, right? Incipient trade routes came into existence. Incipient trade routes, early trade routes. For example, what is incipient trade routes? For example, let's say there's a person from A, he goes to B. So he goes roaming in the forest, wandering in the forest, and let us say he reaches a place called B there. And here in B, in this area, he finds something which is not available in A. So let us say he finds something green or a blue stone, which is not available in A. He's very enamored of this stone. So he'll bring that from B, he'll bring it to A. And somebody from B who has come to A will in turn bring it back to B. So incipient early trade routes came into existence. Now, since people are taken to agriculture, a surplus food was generated, more mouths could be fed, population increased. Understand this, more mouths could be fed, population increased. So tribal communities were transformed into hamlets grew into towns grew into cities, and civilizations came into existence during this period. You understand? So that's how it happened. People took to agriculture, surplus food was generated, more mouths could be fed, population increased, right? And when population increased, you have tribes transforming themselves into hamlets grew into villages into towns, and then towns into cities, and civilizations happened. Therefore, Gordon Child calls this period as Neolithic Revolution. Did you get me that? That's why it's called Neolithic Revolution. It revolutionized the life of man. Did you get me that? Hello? Uh, no, not without control, Hari. Understand this. When you have more food available now, so therefore more mouths could be fed. Population increased. The immediate necessity was taken care of. For example, I'll give you a modern example. Hari. Now, Hari is asking me how the tribes eat their food in the Paleolithic, Mesolithic periods without control. No, not without control. They are burning whatever they're eating, and they're very much in control. The point is, what I'm saying is, when food is there, plentifully available, population naturally increased. For example, many decades back, we had a chief minister of Andhra. His name was N.T. Ramarao, right? He was a famous film actor from Andhra Pradesh, a very, very famous person. So he joined politics. He established the Telugu Desam Party, TDP, Telugu Desam Party. And in the election, campaign, he told the people of Andhra. Those days, you only had Andhra Pradesh. You had no Telangana. Now you have separate state called Telangana also out of Andhra. So that was there. Those days there was no Telangana. So he told the people of Andhra that if you vote my party and I become the chief minister, I will implement this scheme. 1 kg rice for 2 year, 2 rupees. 1 kg rice for 2 rupees. Now he was already very popular on the screen. People of Andhra voted him to power, and he became the chief minister for two terms. For 10 years continuously, he became the chief minister. You go and look at the demography of Andhra during that period. One kg rice for 2 rupees, and in that 10-year period, the population of Andhra Pradesh increased. The population of Andhra Pradesh increased because the government is giving 1 kg rice for 2 rupees. Why will the farmer slog in the why will he work so hard or slog in the farm? Because government is giving him 2 rupees rice and 1 kg rice for 2 rupees. So he's spending most of his time in the house, instead of working on the farm. And if you look at the demography, the population of Andhra increased. So you use, so I say use the same logic, Hari, in here. Did you get me that? So that's how it is. No, the more food was available, more mouths could be fed, population increased. Did you understand? Hello. Well, this is how it is. Okay. So that's how civilizations came into existence. Now, jokes apart, I cannot answer all your questions. Please understand this. This is what God and child tells us, right? So the population increased and civilizations happened during this period. That's why it's called Neolithic Revolution, right? Now, what was the type of tools used by Neolithic man? He used polished stone axes. Polished stone axes. So he continued to use stone tools and implements, but he would polish them. And such polished stone axes have been found in various parts of India. So we'll come back here on your screen. Neolithic age. So the term Neolithic was coined by Sir John Lubbock, and Gordon Child calls this period as Neolithic Revolution. And I told you, settled agriculture began, and you have the end of nomadic life and the formation of villages. So agriculture, people took to agriculture on a large scale, and also animal husbandry on a large scale, right? And the Neolithic age is contemporaneous. It is contemporaneous with the Mesolithic age, the Chalcolithic age, and also the Indus Valley civilization. Understand this? The Neolithic age is contemporaneous with the Chalcolithic age, the Mesolithic age, and also the Indus Valley civilization. Now, some people were technologically still backward. When we say it was contemporaneous, you can see the sentence here, contemporary to the Mesolithic age. Some people were still in the Mesolithic age, okay? Whereas Neolithic people, no, slightly technologically, they were advanced because they were using polished stone axes. They were engaging in settled agriculture on a large scale, animal husbandry on a large scale, right? So they were technologically a little bit more advanced. Still more advanced were the Harappans. They were even living in the cities. Neolithic people, then Mesolithic people. They were all living in rural areas. Mesolithic people in tribes. The Neolithic age, you have small villages coming into existence, and the Harappans were living in cities. So you have parallelly many cultures existing. Did you understand? So that's what happened. The oldest Neolithic settlement in the Indian subcontinent is at Mehergarh in Pakistan, as early as 7000 BC. So, as early as 7000 BC, we have the only Neolithic settlement in the Indian subcontinent attributed to 7000 BC is in Mehergarh, Balochistan, Pakistan. So, let us look at the important features of Neolithic age. Beginning of settled agriculture, we have discussed this. Large scale domestication of cattle, horses, and other farm animals for dairy and meat, making of wheel and wheel turned pottery, and use fire to cook food. They began to cook food in fire. Okay, right. So characteristic tools: polished stone axes, blades, and burins. So you can see here on your screen. Bhimare, please focus. Don't worry about the population of Karnataka. I know that one rupee per kg rice is there. So let us watch and notice the demography of Karnataka also. Um, Yeah, how no if in the Paleolithic age and the Mesolithic age, people used to eat raw. They should not cook food on fire. Only in the Neolithic age they began to cook food on fire. So in the Neolithic age, they used polished stone axes and blades and burins. That is finely flaked small stone tools. And you can see the picture on your screen. So these are all stone tools. These are all stone tools, and they have been hafted to a piece of wood. A piece of wood has been attached, as you can see here. They're all made of stone. Now let us look at the important Neolithic sites. Important Neolithic sites on your screen. Mehergarh, Mehergarh in Pakistan, Balochistan, Pakistan. This is the oldest Neolithic site in the Indian subcontinent. We have earliest evidence of farming from here. Mehergarh, potter's wheel, drilling of teeth in a living person. So earliest evidence of factual information to try to remember them. Earliest evidence of farming, potter's wheel, and drilling of teeth in a living person. And they were the first to cultivate cotton in the world. People of Mehergarh in Balochistan, Pakistan, they were the first to cultivate cotton in the world. Then we have Koldiva in UP. Koldivaha in UP, earliest evidence of rice cultivation in the world, as early as 5000 BC. So Koldiva in UP. Then Mahagara in UP, extensive barley cultivation. Evidence of extensive barley cultivation comes from there. Then Burzohom in Kashmir on the banks of the river Jhelum. Here, Burzohom means place of birth. And we have here found pit dwellings. Understand this. Dwelling pits. We have found dwelling pits. Now, what are pit dwellings or dwelling pits? On your screen, I'll draw a drawing, a picture you see here. So Kashmir is a place of extreme climatic conditions. I'll use another picture. I use another page here. Now look here. So Kashmir, as you all know, is a place of extreme climatic conditions. The temperature can become very, very cold, as cold as 20, 30 degree below minus. Now, what did the people of Neolithic age in Burzohom, Kashmir do? They will dig a pit 10 to 15 feet or even below, about 20, 15, 20 feet below the ground. They will put ladders like this to climb in and climb out. Okay. Then they will cover the pit with a thatched roof and also skin of animals. So they have put dry leaves, then also skin and fur of animals, and they've covered the roof of the hut like this. And then they will survive here. They will live here. Okay, and they'll climb in and climb out. This is called pit dwellings. These are called pit dwellings. So they have covered the roof to protect them from the cold blizzards and also rain and snow. So these are called pit dwellings, right? Yeah, that is true. Drilling of teeth in a living person. So that is the meaning of dentition. That is true, Hemlata. Then we come back here. So we have evidence of pit dwellings in Kashmir. This is to protect themselves from the cold blizzards, and we have evidence of double burial. What is double burial? Dog buried with human being. A dog has been buried with human being. What does it suggest? Students, what does double burial suggest? A dog has been buried with along with its master. What does it suggest? Very good, Sakshi. Demare, not emotion, not domestication. Next, but Jaswant, Sakshi, a belief in life after death. Belief in life after death. This is what it suggests. A belief in life after death. Double burial. So a master had a dog. Master died. They'll kill the dog also and bury the dog next to the master. In the belief and in the hope that if the master is reborn again, the dog will also be reborn. And the master will have an accomplice with him. Okay. Not symbol of Ankush, not symbol of friendship. Why should they kill the dog for friendship? Not symbol of friendship. This suggests belief in life after death. Kavya says relationship between the two. Kavya, in what relationship? Friendship? No, 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 no. This is belief in life. It suggests belief in life after death. Sakshi, as meaning of drilling of teeth in a living person. Now, you go to a dentist, okay, and he'll work on your teeth, he'll clean your teeth, or he'll, repair your teeth. That is what is drilling of teeth in a living person. Sakshi, how else can I explain that? Bhimare says that it looks like emotion. No, Baba, there's no emotional relationship here. The master died, the master's relatives, they killed the dog and also buried the dog, his favorite dog, next to the master, in the hope and belief that the master, if he's reborn again, the dog will also be reborn and he will have somebody to accompany him and protect him. Preetham, how can you call it as a sati system? Sati is what? Husband. Okay, sati kind of sati system. No, here not necessary that you know, the dog is a female, right? It could be a male dog. So how can you call it as sati, Pritham? No, good, Pritham. You made us laugh. On the lighter side. What if the dog died before? Kavya is asking this. What if the dog died before? They'll find another dog. Kavya. If the master had another dog, they'll find another dog and kill that. There is no holiday tomorrow. As far as I know, there is no holiday tomorrow. I think on Eid there is holiday. Either there is a holiday, not there's no holiday tomorrow. So we'll come back here. Just hold on, right? Another 5 minutes to go. Just hold on. So Burza home, did you understand? So we have tools made of animal bones found here in Burza home, and people of Burza home, the Neolithic people of Burza home, traded with Harappans. They also traded with Harappans. Then Chirand in Bihar, Chirand. We have evidence of snake worship from Chirand. So look here, we have evidence of snake worship in the Neolithic period at Chirand in Bihar. In Bihar. And snake worship is even there now. It is part of our civilization, snake worship. So many temples all over India thrive on this snake worship. Let us say you get a dream with a snake, a snake has come in your mind, in your dream, and you tell your parents, and they take you to a purohit or an astrologer. That person will say that you have nagadosh, sarpadosh, and you have temples, where they're specially made temples for removing the so-called sarpadosh. So explanation is given that in your past life you have killed some snakes. That's why they're troubling you in your dream, etc. And then some rituals are performed. So many temples are there all over India which thrive in this type of a belief. Do you remember? Okay, so evidence of snake worship. So this is as old as our civilization. Evidence of discovery of bone needle has been found, which suggests stitching activity. Bone needle has been found from Chiran, Bihar, which suggests stitching activity. Then South India. So here we have rubbing querns found. You can see here rubbing querns. These are called rubbing querns, which suggests that people of South India cultivated cereals in the Neolithic age. So we have ragi. People cultivated ragi, horse gram here. Use stone axes, stone blade, and rubbing stone querns, and traded with Harappans. So cereals were cultivated by the people. Stone querns have been found in South India. And then these are the important Neolithic sites in South India. On your screen, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu. Important Neolithic sites in South India. For example, in Karnataka, Maski, Brahmagiri, Piklihal, Tekkalakota, Sanganakallu. These are the important Neolithic sites of South India. Andhra Pradesh, Nagarjanakonda, Pallavai. In Telangana, Utnur. And Tamil Nadu, Payampalli, Sendurmalai. And I end my class with this information. Just hold on. Ash mounds. In these 5, 6 places, we have found mounds of ashes on your screen. Ash mounds. Piklihal, Utnur, Kupkal, Kodekal, Pallavai, Sendurmalai. In these 6 places, we have found ash mounds. These are called ash mounds. What is an ash mound? A mound of ash. Ash mound is a mound of ash. Now, what is the explanation for this? How did these mounds of ash get formed? So, two explanations are given by archaeologists, historians. One is probably people living in these areas, in South India, in these 6 sites, Piklihal, Utnur, Kupkal, Kodekal, Pallavai, Sendur Malai. They probably had a hunting, shifting cultivation. They engaged in shifting cultivation. So that they probably had shifting cultivation. So they will clear the forest. How will they clear the forest? They will set fire to patches of the forest, and that way they'll burn down the forest. The ashes are collected, and then that area which has been burned down is made fit for agriculture. So ashes have remained. Somehow ashes have remained. Okay, so it suggests extensive cultivation by clearing forests. This is one explanation for the ash mounds. Another explanation is cattle herding. So in the morning, as you all know, the cow herd takes the cattle for grazing in the meadows. So whole day they will graze. In the evening, he'll bring them back. And then he will tie them in a cattle pen. What's a cattle pen? It doesn't have a shed on top. It doesn't have a roof on top. So you have pegs which are hammered into the ground, and the cattle is tethered or tied to those pegs. Now, what will the cattle do? They give out dung. Whole day they have eaten grass, etc., leaves, etc. They'll give out dung in that spot where they have been tied up. In the next morning, he'll again take them for grazing. In the evening, he'll bring them and again tie them up in the same place. So over a period of time, dung gets collected. So to dispose of the dung, what has he done? Obviously, the summer, the dung would get it would get dried up. So he will collect all the dried dung and then he will set it on fire. So that's how ashes have remained. So two explanations are given for these ash mounds. Either people in the south um, engage in extensive cultivation by clearing the forest, by burning down the patches of forest, or cattle herding. Did you understand? So remember these places, ash mounds, where ash mounds have been formed. Did you understand ash mounds here? No, they have somehow remained. For example, they have somehow remained. You have some of the trees have gum, lac, so that might have fallen on the ashes, and it must have got sticky, and it has got somehow covered up, and it has remained. So this is how ash mounds have remained. Remember these ash mounds, please. Example from the exam point of view. 6 places where ash mounds have been found. And lastly, in Northeast India, we have thick forests in the Brahmaputra Valley, thick forests and heavy rainfall in the Brahmaputra Valley. Therefore, very less sites are there in Northeast India. Mostly they are found in Assam at 2, 3 places, Markodola, Sarutaro, and Daujali Harding. So, Sarutaro, Markodola, and Daujali Harding. These are the places in Assam where we have found Neolithic tools, right? So this is about Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic age. Tomorrow I will start with Chalcolithic age. I'll finish Chalcolithic age and we'll look at the questions from this chapter. And then we'll go to the next chapter, Indus civilization. So you have a great day. I hope the session was useful. Factual in nature, basically, easy to understand. We will start tomorrow at the same time, right? Tomorrow there's no holiday, though it is Ugadi. We'll be having a holiday on Eid. I think Wednesday or Thursday we'll be having a holiday, not tomorrow. Okay, so thank you very much. You have a good night's sleep, and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. So I'm logging out.